Hi, if you're watching this message right now, it means that you're about to watch between episodes 1 and 23 of my show, Conversations with Atul. Please note that when you'll be watching these first 23 episodes, you will just see a picture of me and a picture of the guest on your screen. That is because the first 23 episodes we never recorded live video. These were audio only episodes meant for Spotify. So what happened was, when I shifted my show to YouTube and started recording video, I felt that my audience should also listen to these first fantastic 23 episodes with some amazing people, great anecdotes, inspiring lives. Like Mukhtar Bhai, who runs a carom club in Thane for the last 35 years. The amazing voiceover artist Nikhil Kapoor. The orchestra man Sudhir Sinha, or the whistler Nagesh Surve. I wanted you to be a part of this experience. One little thing that you will see this message that I've recorded right now before each of the 23 episodes of Conversations with Atul. So, enjoy the conversations and welcome to Conversations with Atul.
Conversations with Atul.
My regular listeners are already aware of the series I'm conducting with people from different parts of the world. Earlier, we had conversations with Dr. Curtis Cole about growing up in America, and another with Lithuanian painter Audronė Brazauskaitė about art therapy. In the same vein, today we discovered Hong Kong and South Korea through the eyes of business icon Yong Lee. In the first of this 3-episode series, we conversed with Yong about the history of the divide between South and North Korea, the country's running feud with Japan, and why South Koreans have a victim complex. He also opened up on his personal trauma of losing his father to an airline bomb by North Korean terrorists in 1987 and how that one event realigned his priorities with his mother. So please welcome business icon Yong Lee, whose days of entrepreneurship started as a teenager with organizing beer parties on trams and yachts in Hong Kong, and who will finally reveal to us what the words in the blockbuster hit song Gangnam Style mean. Hi, I'm Atul Taishete and welcome to my podcast, Conversations with Atul. But before we begin, please do check out my not to miss film recommendation that I make at the end of every episode. Also, here is a small message on a book I have written, which is easily available on Amazon worldwide and which can help you to write screenplays, novels, and much more. Have you ever watched a film or a series or read a novel and felt, I can write better than this? Except you didn't really know how to. But now you can try your hand at writing screenplays, web series, or novels with a little help from my book called Anybody Can Write a Film. Devoid of film jargon and loaded with examples from popular films, my book simplifies the process to write films, series, or even a novel. Available on Amazon worldwide under the title Anybody Can Write a Film, Demystifying the Screenwriting Process by Atul Taishete. Visit Amazon.in to buy the book in India and Amazon in your respective countries to buy the Kindle version. Anybody can write a film. Now with my book, anybody actually can.
Hello everybody, and we have a very special guest today. His name is Mr. Yong Lee. And we have this new series now, which is about trying to talk with people from various countries and try to understand their cultures and the history and whatever little we can. And Yong has a multitude of experiences. Like he was born in Hong Kong. He's South Korean by descent, and then he shifted to the US, and he has this really big, medium, booming business in the US. So he started from scratch and he's reached where he is. And today we are going to try and understand his journey and where he's reached, where he has. So that is what this episode is about. So a warm welcome to you, Yong. I'm very happy to have you on this podcast.
Oh, thanks for inviting me again. This is finally I get to talk to you freely so that you can get to know who I am. I've been holding everything back previously so that we can really have this conversation.
Yes.
So thank you for having
Because
me.
Yong is a dear friend of my dear friend, and so the thing is that I've been telling him, I've been with him for the last one day, and I've been telling him, don't tell me anything, don't tell me, because then you will tell me I told this to you yesterday, so that is not I want to hear on the podcast. I wanted to hear it for the first time. So that's what has been happening, and so we're just getting drunk without talking about each other. We're talking about him. So okay, Yong, how I start the podcast normally is that with. Because at least what is happening right now in my country is that we keep on talking about who came 500 years back and 700 years back, but my thing about people generally is that all of us are migrants.
Yeah.
All of us are essentially migrants. So I come from a place near Goa, a village near Goa, my parents, and then slowly we shifted towards border of Bombay. Now I stay in the middle of Bombay. So or if I was not doing this, I was not making films, I'm sure I would have been somewhere in the US or Singapore or somewhere doing investment banking or whatever that I was doing then. So I'm saying that it's something that we need to understand. I need to understand about people is that we are always migrating. And you have this amazingly rich history of migration because I'm sure your grandparents and your parents, they've come from South Korea. So we would like to also understand a little about what South Korea was back then. And the thing is that if you can take us back, say 2-3 generations back and
Sure.
help us understand how you landed up in Hong Kong or where you were in South Korea as a family, if you, as much as the history that you know.
Sure. So, I think my parents migrated to Hong Kong in 1970. And that's the reason why my brother and we ended up being born in Hong Kong. And so we had the luxury of being able to learn several languages. English, I went to a completely American school. It was run in an American format. I think I had more American kids in that school than when I was going to school in America.
Oh, wow.
It was Hong Kong International School, and so that's where I learned my English. I had to speak Korean at home with my family, so that forced me to speak Korean.
Okay, I'll just stop you here because what I would like to know is basically if you can take us a generation or two even before your parents, about your grandparents and what they were doing and how did they end up, how did your parents end up in Hong Kong? What happened and what were your grandparents?
Sure. My grandfather, he passed away quite early.
From your father's side?
From my father's side.
Okay.
But before he passed away, he did some business with Hong Kong at the time, jewelry trading with Hong Kong. So he had a lot of customers in Hong Kong. And he went back and forth. And I think my father at the time, then when my grandfather was not feeling so well, he had cancer. And he passed away, I think, in his late 50s. So my father, who comes from a family of 6 brothers and 2 sisters, all from the same mother, so that's a big family. And he ended up taking over what my father was doing.
Your father's business?
My grandfather's. Yeah, my grandfather. Yeah. So I really don't know that much of what went on, but I know he took over that business, and at the time then he was going back and forth from Korea to Hong Kong, and he got married and then moved completely into Hong Kong. And then my grandmother was just a housewife taking care of 8 kids.
Wow.
So it's that's all.
That by itself is a job, taking care of 8
Yeah,
kids.
it put a lot of pressure on my father because he acted as the husband of the family
Traditional husbands.
Yeah, because his youngest brother was 20 years younger than him. So
Really?
yes, so he had brothers that are 20 years younger, 14 years younger, 10 years younger. So they all naturally looked at him more of a father figure than a brother figure. So he ended up having to work to try his best to take care of the whole family, and eventually ended up living in Hong Kong, and that's where my mother opened up the first Korean restaurant in Hong Kong.
Oh, really?
Yep,
So that's where your love for cooking and food stems from, I guess.
yep. I don't know if that's where it came from, but I think it contributed.
Yes, because you have an idea that your family was in the restaurant business a long time back. I mean, I think that somewhere must be playing a role.
Yeah. But so she had a restaurant for 10 years, and I mean, for us, we were not like a family where we were the richest family in the world, but we were not the poorest family in the world. Every penny my parents made went into us for schooling. Korea being a real poor country back then, it's really important that
And
education.
it was United Korea too, right? I mean, it was.
It was a divided Korea, north and south.
When was the division?
The war was 1945.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a long time ago. But originally, my father's side of the family, they're all from North Korea. So it was during the war that they were able to escape down into South Korea. Yeah.
And was North Korea always as crazy as it is now, or was it?
So I've never been there, so I can't really tell you how crazy it is.
But from what your parents, your grandparents have heard?
No, back then it was not like that. Back then it was they had the same lifestyle. The whole country did. It was so it was during the war when my grandfather went down to this little piece of the very southern tip called Busan.
Yeah, it is a very famous film festival actually.
Yeah. So that's the only part of South Korea left because North Korea has pushed their way down. And he managed to get a portion of a train that was going to the north, and he stuffed his whole family in that train and brought them back down.
Wow.
That's how they escaped North Korea.
Do you have any? Have you ever been told anything about the journey? I mean,
No, I don't. No, that's something that they don't really
Like to talk about.
It's it's not easy trying to escape war. It's so no, they don't really. I only hear stories sometimes when I go to Korea in the evenings. Once in a while, they have these military training where the whole city has to be light out. Not even a cigarette butt. So the reason why they do that is because
even today.
no, not anymore. Not anymore. They used to do that so that the North Koreans cannot detect a missile into a rocket into so they could
Into a residential area.
Yeah. Through even a very small light, they said the rocket can detect the target. So.
Right. So this wasn't what you're talking about.
All this stuff was when I was in middle school, even up until my high school, they had those training. Like
Wow.
During those trainings.
That is around till mid 80s and early 90s, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then, I remember where I was at my grandma's house at the time, and they had that training, and my uncle lit up a cigarette, and my grandma got very upset because
Wow.
The rocket's gonna land in our house. So it's not that long ago, that all of this happened when we were back in the 80s. So it was a real traumatic experience for them to think of. So they don't really talk about it much. Yeah.
And are you, I mean, being of South Korean descent, I mean, are you aware of the history of your country? I mean, is there something that you can tell us about, say, Korea and how it was in North Korea and how what the war and everything, and if whatever you know, it doesn't because
I've never lived in Korea in my life, so I would say that my Korean knowledge is somewhat limited.
Yeah, of course.
I speak the language fluently, but people can still tell
Yes.
that I am not from Korea. Yeah, there's some the fluidness is not there.
Yeah, the fluency of it.
Yeah. So what I can tell you about Korea, it has become economically a
Developed, yeah.
crazy booming over the years. It's some of the largest companies in the world are now in South Korea. It's when you go there, it's like so metropolis. It's booming there. It's really, really booming. I was just there 2 or 3 weeks ago, and my God, it's come a long way. I still remember when I was a kid, eating a banana in South Korea was like luxurious. So living in Hong Kong, bananas are all over the place.
Yeah.
So whenever I see my cousins, I'm like, my God, you guys are like crying over a banana. It's and drinking a glass of fresh orange juice was a big deal. So if you look at how far they have come, it's amazing. It really is.
And even if we let go of the history of the place, because South Korea is a democracy, right? So, and North Korea is an imperialistic, it's like a monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So, now is it, do people, I think it's almost impossible to escape North Korea right now for people.
Yeah. I think it's impossible, but it's still being done through the Yellow River in the north that borders China. So I think they have what you call agents, brokers that work in China to help these people out. And they get paid for every successful escape. And when they get into China, they still can get caught though. So they then have to find the next country to go into. But when they usually come to South Korea, what they do is they get into Mongolia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mongolia is a very economically, it's not really a developed country. No?
Yeah, but it's a country that will accept
Them.
Yeah. So they will go into Mongolia, and then from there they'll figure out, which embassy they'll go into.
But the Chinese mustn't be very welcoming because the Chinese and North Korea are very close.
Yeah, so that's why they have to hide while they're in China.
It's like migrants coming in from South America into North America. I guess it would have a very similar.
Yeah.
That if they're caught, then you're just deported back.
Yes, but I think it might be a little easier for South Americans to find their way into United States than in North Korea. I mean, over there, at least bullets are not going to fly into your head. But over here,
there's a process of law in the U.S. So.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to shoot you on the head for crossing the border. But over here, you're either dead or it's Russian roulette. So, yeah, there's a lot that come into the United States, Korea, everywhere.
Yes.
It's actually some deport to Korea and then they go back to North Korea because they
Really?
can't adjust to that free lifestyle.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then some of the women that come in, all they have is like odd jobs. So
Yes.
it's
So education is of no value there.
right,
Education is like if you might have done the best education here
right,
in India, and I think Indians are generally the educational institutes are very good, but then you still need to go to the US and get their education. Like
Right.
you still need to go to UCLA or wherever else that you get to Harvard or Cambridge to be accepted there.
Right.
So it must be very similar there, I guess.
yeah, yeah. So education is a big deal, but it's very unfortunate to see the two countries divided like that, and I don't think in my lifetime there's going to be unification.
But I think worse things have. I mean, like it's East Germany, West Germany. Nobody thought it would ever happen.
I guess so. I mean, everybody says, when you never expect it, it'll happen. But right now, I don't see. As long as that guy Kim Jong Un is sitting there, it's probably not going to happen.
But I think politically, even if you have to look at the US right now or India, I mean, even in India, I think the idea of politicians is to actually create their own country. I mean, it's not that they want to break away from India or break away from South Korea also. But the idea that a politician has is that this is my niche and this is the kind of base that I have. And how nice it would be that if I had a country of my own with these people
Right.
and actually control everything. That's something which I think most politicians want. And we're already seeing it in a country like the US where I would have never imagined the kind of, I think it call it an insurrection if you want, but that kind of a thing, it's unimaginable. And it happened and it was...
Right.
Tell me a little about, because you're the first South Korean that I know, so that I've met. Tell me a little about the Korean people. What kind of people are they? What, like, generally, I mean, so when we're talking of Korean people, Yong, are we talking...
The good side or the bad side?
Both. But I'm saying both. So I'm saying that when you're telling me about the Korean people, you specifically mean South Koreans, or do you mean them
Well,
demographically? You mean them as the same?
I think South Koreans, to be more specific, because I really don't know, like, what the education is like in North Korea. Koreans historically has always been a colonized nation. So there is something called Han in Korean that they are always feel like they're the victim.
So there is what you call a victim complex.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in there, trying to redevelop the country after the war, they were poor. The country was real poor. So our parents' generation was actually the first generation growing up after the war. And no money, nothing. It was dirt poor. So everything was put into my generation. Every penny they make goes into children. Education is number one priority. Everybody has to become a doctor and a lawyer.
Oh wow, so similar to India.
Yep. Because that's stability,
Engineer, doctor, lawyer, architect.
Yeah, engineer, lawyer,
Doctor, architect.
Doctor, architect. That
Accountants.
accountants. That's
White collar jobs.
yes. So in here, the next generation of Koreans, which is my generation, they're a little bit more relaxed, but they still have that value of watching their parents work so hard to really save every penny to
Wow.
give. So we saw I think the next generation
It's very chilled out.
is very chilled out. It's become the country of Korea. They're not having children that much anymore.
Yeah.
People are not getting married as much anymore. It's becoming a lot more. It has to make me happy. I should be happy before anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's completely reversed and turned around. It's actually going through a really big issue of not having enough babies. The government is encouraging it, but it's not happening when that generation is looking to really look for more enjoyment for themselves. Then, like the value of saving money is not there anymore.
Mm.
It's more of I need to spend to make myself happy. So it's changed quite a bit, but also the country itself has changed quite a bit. I mean, some of these names that you've heard of, Samsung, Hyundai, Kia, they're all like from our parents' generation that made all these companies happen. I mean, it's just very different now. It's very different. It's very westernized.
Right. Right.
It's very westernized, but one thing for sure is the education part has not gone away.
South Koreans are still very, very fixed about education. The younger generation?
Yeah, so I think they are too. They would like to have their kids go into a what you call a sky university. That's Seoul University, Korea University,
Okay.
and Yonsei University. That's
Which are the
sky.
premium
Yeah,
universities in the country.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you don't get into those, then hopefully you'll get into a college within Seoul, the capital city. Then and so on and so on. And then in the United States,
It's Ivy Leagues.
Korean parents want them all to go to Ivy League.
Yeah.
So the value of education is still there. Like I think we want our children to academically excel. Yeah, more so than what I can see in other cultures.
But this is very similar to in India. I mean, extremely similar.
Yeah.
Extremely similar. I mean, what is it? I mean, in the sense of, let's talk about personally, like you talked about this me culture, that I am the one who needs to be happy and I am the one, and what are your personal views on it? Is it okay? Is it, I mean, not so good, not so bad, maybe both? What is it? How do you see
I
this?
think I need to be happy, and that's very, very important. Because if I don't enjoy it, nothing, I mean, it means nothing. Nothing means nothing, you know? Anything means nothing. But I also need to be able to build my own infrastructure safely. My family, my parents, everybody should be taken care of before.
So that's old school.
It is old school. That's why I'm saying in my generation, we still have kind of what our parents had.
So how do you look at this perspective that the newer generation has? Like your children will have this perspective definitely in the next 5-7 years or 10 years,
Yeah.
So how do you look at it? And are you accepting of it, or are you a little resentment? There's a little resentment about it.
Look, I always think my generation is the best generation, but everyone thinks their generation is the best generation, right? So, what I think is I need to live my life a certain way that my children will see. And hopefully they will look at it and internalize some of what they've seen growing up, the values of what mom and dad had. So I always tell my wife, if the kids have half my DNA, they'll be okay when they grow up. So
They may. I'm sorry. Yeah, please
no,
continue.
but this generation stuff, our kids. I think kids, whether you're going to spoil them or not, it's up to you. I mean, parents are really good to their kids now, exceptionally good. But also, you just have to live a certain way that rubs off on your children. They'll see how you live. Like, simple example is, if I'm good to my mother, they'll see the value of family. So my mother lives very close to me in New York, and I talk to her every day. I see her every week. Our whole family visits her every Sunday. These are just stuff that the kids will see. And hopefully they'll come visit me too one day.
But I would like to say something here that I hope I'm sure that even if your children have half your DNA, they won't even have half of your struggles. So it's not the same thing. Just having half your DNA doesn't help. They need to have half your, even 20% of your struggles, and they'll be different people. So that's where it stops.
Well, that's the other thing, though. I think kids may not face as much struggle today than prior. I don't know. It's I had a.
But are you? The question which I actually had was in my mind was that are you accepting or resentful of the me culture, which is of this generation?
I'm
Or-
accepting.
Are you accepting?
Oh yeah.
completely? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because what are you gonna do about it?
These are two different things. What you're going to do about it, and whether you're resentful. These are.
I'm accepting completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're old school and new school, I guess. You're like this
I have to
healthy
be.
mix of old school and new school. That's what it
Yeah.
comes down to.
I have to be a cool dad.
Yeah, because your children will resent you if you are very old school with them too.
Exactly.
You're a very smart man, Yong. I have never heard this from somebody else because I come from very humble backgrounds, and most of my friends come from, but they were from very humble backgrounds. Like we used to live in 200 square feet houses, one room, and a kitchen, small kitchen, and all that. So and a balcony. So what you did was you shifted your kitchen to the balcony, so that you have another extra room. So that kind of stuff used to happen in my circuits. And over the years, I think my friends, most of them are academically smart, and they make a lot of money and all that. And they always the common refrain is that I don't understand my kid that much because it's because the kid doesn't have the same struggles that you had. So obviously, it's stupid to expect them to have the same kind of understanding.
Sure.
So that is where my query came from, actually. That where were you?
Yeah.
And there's one thing which you said about not having enough children in your country, Korea itself. I just read the statistics yesterday where it seems in Japan, last year, twice the number of people died than those were born.
Yeah, I think Japan is also going through the same struggle.
Yeah.
And it's weird though, because whatever happens to Japan, Korea tends to follow that. It's
Really?
yeah, being colonized by Japan for so long, culturally it's very similar.
But Japan as a country, whatever I've heard of Japan as a country, as a colonial empire, they were ruthless and brutal. That's and now it's a different country altogether.
Yeah.
But it was extremely ruthless and brutal.
Prior to, I heard,
Prior to democracy and
they were ruthless for sure. A lot of historical movies, TV shows you see, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. Japan, any sports events, Japan's the biggest rival for Korea.
Oh, it's like India, Pakistan, actually. In India. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Because you were, oh my God, because that common history that you share.
yeah, football matches, anything basketball, anything Olympic. It's like we have to have more gold medal, everything. It's a big deal. Our benchmarking country is Japan.
And who has the upper hand? I mean, who wins normally?
You know, I don't know. Like soccer, I've heard that Korea has won more.
Okay.
But I think Japan's FIFA ranking is higher than Korea.
They are the World Cups normally, so.
Yeah. Both countries usually get into the World Cup.
So which are the sports in Korea? Like popular sports? Like in India, it's cricket.
Golf.
Golf. Because we had this small yesterday.
Golf is a big sport. Baseball.
Okay.
Lots of baseball players being going to major league in the States.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So how come baseball? Where does that come from? I mean,
We do everything Japan did. Come on, I told you that.
okay.
So they have I think 11, maybe 9 to 11 professional teams.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're pretty good. And then a lot of the old major league players come to Korea and play. Yeah. So baseball, soccer, golf, I think those are like the top 3 sports in Korea.
Tell me a little more about Korean people. Are they warm? Are they hospitable?
Oh
Are
yeah,
they friendly?
yeah. Koreans are very giving. Like when we say hello to someone, typically we ask, "Have you eaten yet?"
Wow.
You know, it's
Can you just say it in Korean for me? I mean, like what is it that you say?
yeah. Well, 안녕하세요 is hello.
Say I'm passing by you, and you say, what would you say?
식사하셨어요? Did you eat yet?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Like in India, I mean, just to give a context, is that at least in my culture, in Maharashtra, we say when you're leaving, you say bhetto or yeto parat, which means is that I'll be back or I'll meet you again. You never say bye. You always say I'll meet you again. So that's a way of saying bye, but I'll meet you again. So it's a big, and I was in this. I was actually studying filmmaking at a scholarship in Paris. And I made a film on beggars in Paris. And in India, there are beggars everywhere. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
Traffic signals here, there, everywhere. But the power of language is what I understood when I was in Paris. Is that they don't call them beggars. They call them SDF, which is sans domicile fixe, which means that without fixed domicile. So they don't call you. So they call you homeless. They call you without fixed domicile. So you don't feel bad about being called. Like if I said, oh, you're a beggar.
It's a more sophisticated way of saying.
Yeah, of course it's a more, but it's also the way that one would look at language, that if it's there in the language, then you also treat it a little more,
True.
a little more sensitively. I mean, of course, they're still beggars and they're still sitting on the road and begging. But when you call it themselves, I think you are slightly more, you have a little more empathy towards them. Then you would have in calling them beggars. Like in India, I think because I've born and brought up in India, I'd call someone a beggar. But in Paris, the way I was told this, and I was like, okay, this is a little more sophisticated and this has more empathy than I would normally call it.
Yeah. Wow, that's
It's the same thing what you were telling me. That have you eaten yet?
Yeah.
There is empathy in that.
Yeah.
There's empathy in that. Okay, you don't. I mean, like if you're passing by and I say hello, and you say hello, have you eaten yet? There is an automatic empathy for the person, which maybe you may mean, you may not mean, but in the language there is empathy.
But also in Korean, it's a little funny. For if American would have heard that, they would have said it was rude. They'll say hello, and then they'll say, "Oh, you put on some weight," but that means. You look good.
You look healthy.
Yeah. You put on some weight, or you say, "Oh, you're fatter," or something along those lines.
But I think it's It's the social media culture too, I think, where people are now, you can't tell somebody you're looking healthy. It's considered as an insult rather than a compliment.
Yeah, but in Korea, that's actually a compliment.
But isn't that a cultural thing? I mean, it did not, what the Americans like need not be what happens in Korea.
Yeah.
So the Americans better get you. Like, if you come to India, you have to adjust to my culture, and if I come to Korea, I have to adjust to yours.
Exactly.
So that's how it has to be. So there's
interesting.
Anything else that you'd like to tell me about Korean people? I mean,
besides the fact that we're the best people in the world, I think.
So there is very little humility in Korea. So that's one thing.
Well,
that
you asked me, so.
No, but I got it from you. I'm saying, okay, there's only a very kind, affectionate, warm, friendly, and with very little humility. I'm just joking.
Yeah. I mean, I would strongly advise anybody who hasn't been to Korea to come visit. It's a very warm country. It's hustle and bustle, and a lot of nature and mountains.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know how crazy a lot of Indian teenagers are right now about South Korea because of the K-pop culture, BTS.
Yes.
It's crazy. I have a friend who repairs computers and stuff, and Nainesh his name is, and his daughter said that I want to go to Korea and study, and I said, what sense does it make? Because you don't know the language, and Koreans are going to the US, So I want to go to the US. So, but she's like, it seems she's so enamored by the whole culture of the Korean culture and I'm a big fan of Korean cinema. Like the devil of its all. I mean, so many Old Boy and all these films.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Korean, the good cinema, of course. Now it's all become like Bollywood. But I'm saying that I've been like that. So he told me this, and I said, and he was like, she wants to go and study in South Korea. And I said, but what is she going to study in South Korea? And what value will it have? Send her to the US or the UK because it's at least in English.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Atul. Well, this time coming to India, I had the chance to interview a couple of Indians for positions that require speaking Korean. And I was very surprised.
Wow.
Met a few people who speak Korean.
Wow. Really?
Not perfect, but...
Yeah, but they can get by.
Yeah, they can get by. I was quite... Not only Korean, Chinese, and Spanish.
Mandarin.
It was...
But Spanish, I think I can understand because I know French. So I think it's words are very similar in Spanish and in French.
But Chinese and Korean.
They're different languages? I mean, completely? Okay.
Completely different, yeah.
Wow.
I was surprised. My...
This is very, I didn't know this at all, but I was very surprised with my friend. Like I talked with him hardly a month back.
But when I asked the guys, what made you learn Korean? And it has a lot to do with the Korean media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The soft culture. Like Bollywood, for example, people don't like, I'm not sure this government understands that so well. But you need to push Bollywood into all over the world. That is where the soft culture comes in.
Yeah.
Then you become popular as a culture. That's how you need to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with South Korea right now is because they have this romantic dramas on Netflix and Amazon. And now the world is actually media-wise, the world is becoming tighter. So it's coming closer. So I go on Amazon or wherever, and suddenly there are all these Korean shows, and there's a new Korean show coming up, and it'll advertise it like this on Amazon India or on Netflix.
Yeah.
New Korean show with this, and they seem like typical Bollywood stuff most of the times. But there are some great film directors, I think.
I think there's a lot of investments going into
the
Korean media, movies, and music, and so it's become a huge industry. Huge. I don't know what's it like in comparison to Bollywood, but
it's very popular in India right now.
It's become like world renowned. Netflix. I mean, we heard of Squid Game.
Squid Game was very popular in India.
Yeah, they just come up with these very creative creative shows and movies. It's really they come a long way, long way. I never thought Gangnam Style was going to be.
And people who don't understand it, I have a friend in the US and his son. I remember this because he said Gangnam Style. And Gangnam Style was crazy even in India.
Yeah.
I mean, all children. See, the first thing it has to hit is children and teenagers, and then it becomes popular. You know, so I had a friend in the US and his son. He just came to him and started doing Gangnam Style. And he's saying, "Why is my child behaving like a retard?" He said that to me. And I asked my wife, "Why is he behaving like this? What is wrong with him?" I still remember Gangnam Style. Gangnam was superb. I absolutely loved Gangnam Style.
So I think that was.
What does it mean, Gangnam Style? Does it
So
mean anything?
Gangnam is a street,
Okay.
an area in Seoul.
Okay.
Literally, it means the south of the river. Gangnam means south of the river.
So it's like Bollywood, for example. It's a kind of style.
Yeah. So in here, that area is a very hip area. Like Samsung headquarters is there. A lot of restaurant, young people.
Wow.
So Gangnam Style is like it's almost like I'm walking on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. It's so that's what Gangnam Style means. But I think that's the only song that the artist Psy has made it big internationally, and he's trying to figure out why that song got so popular.
If everybody knew that, there would be no mystery to it. Everybody would be popular.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
So that's okay. Now let's get back to your father and your mother. And so they came all the way from South Korea and they landed in Hong Kong. Your father took over your grandfather's business, which was of jewelry, right?
I think so. Yes.
And he came and he started working there, and then you were born, and that is how it was. But what was your father's? Does your father ever talk about Hong Kong in the 70s and when he was just there, and what was it like?
My problem is my memory of my father is he passed away when I was 11. So I was still in elementary school, lower school. So I don't think we're talking about the 70s
Yeah.
at that age. We're talking about, Dad, take me to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
So we never had much of those conversations, but yeah. So you want me to go talk about them?
Yeah. It would be wonderful
okay.
to hear about them.
Yeah.
But what are your memories? See, it doesn't have even going to Chuck E. Cheese is a memory, right? I mean, that's a memory. So, what are your memories of your father?
Oh, he was a fun man. He really knew how to enjoy life to fullest.
Really?
Yeah, he was a fun man. He really I still remember him trying to do business at the time. He was buying raw material silk from China and exporting it to Korea. So he was like a middle agent that was buying silk, and my mom at the time was running a Korean restaurant. So
The first Korean restaurant in Hong Kong.
the first Korean restaurant in Hong Kong, and the food was brought in every day from Korean Airlines, because at that time it was very hard to find Korean ingredients. Yeah, so
Wow.
so my grandmother used to have them all packed up. Korean Airlines send it to Hong Kong. My grandmother was a great cook. She was really, really amazing cook. But she opened the first Korean restaurant, and up until 10 years ago, it was still around. Not hers, but somebody else bought it from her a long time ago. And My father, he was doing the silk and accessories. So like earrings and necklace, like they weren't real jewelry; they were fake accessories. And he used to sell them to different countries, and on one of his business travels, that's where he passed away.
Where in a different country?
So he passed away from the Korean airline that was bombed by the North Korean terrorist.
He was in that plane.
Yes. So the flight took off from Baghdad in Iraq. This was in 1987, right before the Korean Olympic and elections. And it stopped at Abu Dhabi. The terrorists got off the plane. They left a bomb in the plane, and the plane exploded over Thailand.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
That is that was quite tragic for our family. And so since then, my mom raised my brother and I.
8 children.
No, my father had 8.
Your father had
brothers.
children. How many children does
For me, it's just me and my brother.
your elder brother?
Yeah, older brother, 1 year older.
Okay.
Yeah. So then she took over my father's business at the time, and I mean, talk about knowing nothing about business that he was doing and jumping in from day one to figure out how to maintain it. I mean, not even make money or make it bigger. Just maintaining it was a real success for her. You know, we went to a very prestigious, expensive school in Hong Kong, a private school. So you know, we were all like kind of worried: are we going to be able to continue? Because the tuition's expensive, but I tell you, she did a fabulous job. She really did.
Your father seems to be a very enterprising man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
because he came all the way from in a different country, in a different culture, and he didn't go into a job. He tried something like he didn't, like you could always clean the streets or do something, something else. But he said, no, this is not what I'll do. And he tried to make a life which would be comfortable and send his children to the best schools and give them something which would be more.
I think the family has been entrepreneurial ever since, like from my grandfather's
time.
Yeah, and then if you look at my grandfather's brothers, everybody's entrepreneurial. Yeah, not everybody's been successful, but
Yeah, I mean, that's okay.
there's a blood of entrepreneurship coming down from generations. Yeah.
And your father, because we had a small chat yesterday, he also tried to give you a certain kind of values. Like you said something about him looking whether you're going to take the bus or whether you're going to walk.
Yeah. So like taxis is out of the question. I mean, for him, it's if you don't need to spend money, don't spend it. So he wants to make sure he'll look out the window of his office to see if we're actually taking a taxi, a bus, or walking home. Because he wants to make sure we're not, spending money.
But money was scarce too, right? I mean, it was not really, you were not really rich, as you said.
No, but we weren't poor.
But could you have afforded that taxi?
Probably could have, but
Okay.
it's just something.
Your father didn't want.
Don't spend unnecessary money. Is I think what he was trying to tell us.
Wow.
Yeah.
and that has stayed with you. I mean, how else do you remember your father in terms of values, in terms of, like, what has he given you in those
No,
11 years?
He loves life. I know he loves life. Like, I mean, he loves to have the whole family travel all the time. We love to. I remember going to barbecue on weekends with him. It's that was a big deal, you know. And then he would rent a bus so all his friends and families can all ride in the bus together to go barbecue at the beach. So the little memories like that, it really. I still remember him just being a really happy guy. It's a lot of fun to be with. Yep.
So I think you have missed your father for most of your life after you're 11. You somewhere, it seems
I
like
have. And it seems like the older I get, I think of him more.
more.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That's true for everybody. And that's true for a lot of people, not everybody.
Yeah. So, like today, I know as long as my mother is still yelling at me, I know she's alive and she's good.
Oh my God, what a sweet thing to say. No, I mean that's really such a nice thing to say.
Up until a couple years ago, I used to complain to my business partner. God, can't believe my mom is yelling at me and telling me. But now it's like it's becoming like a hummingbird. Like I can't.
Music.
I can't hear anything.
It's music to your ears.
Yeah, I think, but my wife trained me well too.
We'll come to whether that's a compliment later. Yeah. So, and because before that your mother was just looking after the children and looking after the
No,
restaurant.
she had the restaurant, and prior to like him passing away, I think 2 years prior to him passing away, that's when she sold the restaurant. So yeah,
Okay.
she was home. She was a mother,
Okay.
stay-home mom for about 2 years.
Okay. And then she started with that. She tried to take over your father's business.
Yes.
Where is your mother from? I mean, for his.
South Korea.
Yes, but
Seoul.
which part?
Seoul.
Seoul.
Yeah, she's originally from Seoul.
And is she educated? Is she?
She's educated. I mean, back then a very common major amongst women were domestic management.
Home science.
Yeah, home science.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what she did. And
What kind of family did she come from?
she has one sister and two brothers. She's the oldest. Yeah.
But how were they, I mean, financially, were they well off or they struggled through
No,
those
they
times?
weren't very well off, I wouldn't say, because over there my grandfather also died quite early. And it was my uncle who, my mom's brother, was a doctor, and he became filthy rich, like really, really rich. And he ended up supporting the rest of the family. Yeah, like his brother, one of the one sister, she's not married. So, yeah, this one uncle supported everybody. Yeah, but he's really cheap though, like really cheap. So.
But he supported your mother, right? I mean,
No, because my mom got married, so...
against his wishes?
No, my mom got married, so it was my father who was taking care of our family. And my uncle took care of a couple of families there. Yeah.
But how did your mother meet your father? I mean, is it was it an arranged marriage the way we have it here, or what?
Yes, it was arranged marriage from what I have
So you
been
meet
told.
somebody for the first time, and then you meet a couple of times, and you say, "Okay, this is okay. This we can get married." Was it like that back then?
Yes.
And does that still happen in Korea, or is it?
I heard it still happens maybe like in very small percentages,
Okay.
but Korea is almost not. It's
Very westernized now.
yeah, completely westernized. Very high divorce rate too.
Yeah.
So no, all that is history. I know India is still arranged marriage, right?
Yeah, lots and lots. Maybe it's reducing, maybe it's not. I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, at least I know the last 5 marriages I went to, at least 3 of them were arranged marriages. So I know that for sure.
Is that a joke or is that
No,
real?
it's true.
You went through 3 marriages?
No. The 5 marriages that I have gone for, or friends or family or whoever,
Oh.
at least 3 of them are arranged marriages.
Oh,
So that
okay.
when you ask me that how much does it happen in India, this is my understanding of the statistic. I mean, it's a very small sample size, but this is what it is. So I mean, it's fairly
That's-
common in India, even today. That is why. And but
That's
yeah,
still a very high percentage. Wow.
very,
So how
very
does it
high.
work here?
But a lot of people are not getting married. Young people are not getting married anymore.
So how do they find each other? Like do they have
There's
somebody in the
always some
middle?
uncle, aunt, family. It's like that. It's like you know somebody. Oh, this girl is now of age, or this boy is of age, and he is now doing well, and it's time for him to settle down.
But if you don't want to marry, or can you say no?
Generally, you don't marry if you don't want to marry. But then it's also it's also a psychological thing. It's also something that you're used to seeing. That 2 people can meet for the first time, meet 4-5 times after that, stay engaged for some time and get married. So, so staying engaged is the courting period. I mean, it's very
Exactly.
Yeah.
So usually, do you meet for like a couple weeks and then you get married?
I know of marriages where people have just met twice and they said, okay, let's get engaged. Engaged is a ceremony, and in 6 months you're married.
Wow.
You had no idea about this?
I didn't know it's that quick.
Or it can be quicker than that too. Because I know a lot of people
What,
who
you
got
just
married
meet
like
for
this.
5 minutes and get married?
No, not for 5 minutes, but maybe you just went out, you talked for 4 hours, then you went out again. Maybe you went out 4-5 times. I have a lot of my friends, but I'm talking of a different generation where people have done this. Most of my friends have done this and got married this way. Very, very well educated people who have done this and got married this way. And I'm sure, and I know of the younger generation because I told you that I went to 5 marriages and 3 of them were like that. So obviously, it's still a very common practice in India.
Wow. Very
And
interesting.
I'm not talking about like it's in some small village in India. It's in the cities with people who are like very well educated. So that's how it can be. So tell me a little more about your mother. I mean, your mother seems like a fascinating woman. I mean, when she was handling the 2 of you and your father was no more.
Yeah, my mom was hardcore. She, because she was raising us by herself, she had to take on the role as a father too.
Okay.
So she was very hard on herself on raising us. We were attending an American school at the time, but she is not that great in English, but she thinks she gets by in English, but she's really not that great in English. But she did her best. She really did her best, and I think she was harder on us because she didn't want to make a mistake without our father being around. Yeah. So she was a very, very tough mother. Yeah.
Because she didn't want you guys, both of you, to say later that you missed your father.
Yeah, and also I think with the Korean culture, there's something where it's like, oh, you guys are this way because you were raised without a father.
Ah.
So that's one of my biggest motivation is to not have anybody say that to my mom. The motivation to my success, that's one big part, is I want all her friends to see, and my father's friend to see, that they've raised she raised a good kid. So it means a lot to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So even though she's tough, I respect it.
In hindsight, or even then, like when you were a kid, was it?
In hindsight, I didn't understand it because other kids had so much freedom. We didn't have any of that. Like people would be sleeping over at friends' houses Friday night and watching a movie. We didn't have much of that. We weren't allowed to do a lot of things.
So life became a little more structured after your father passed away. Would you say that it was more regimented?
I think when we're getting older, for example, like my brother and I had this thing where, okay, one weekend if you go out, then I'll stay home with mom, and then next weekend I'll go out and you stay home with mom. We had that routine set, and we made sure mom is looked after all the time. Not that she was sick or anything, but we just didn't want her to be lonely.
And how old were you when you were doing this?
16, 17,
Oh my God.
18.
You seem very irresponsible, but you're not. Huh?
Oh, I'm very irresponsible.
No, you're not. I mean, this is something which a
No,
16 year
because also my mom knows that I would cause trouble when I go out.
No. This is not something a 16-year-old would think. I think this comes from understanding what your mother is going through, and I understand it because as a 16-year-old I was not so
No, but,
understanding at all. So
No, but if you lose a father, you naturally.
you grew up earlier.
I think my brother grew up earlier than I did, because in our culture it's more of the older son has
Takes
to
on
take on the responsibility.
Responsibilities of the
So he was a good student. Everything he did was good. Like I was kind of I could get away with murder a lot of times because everything was attention. The spotlight was on him. So if this makes any sense, in high school, I actually threw quite a bit of parties. For example, like on the ferry, those ferry that
Yeah.
ship passengers back and forth. I would rent a ferry, and I would have a toga party.
What is a toga?
So toga is the outfit that the Greek and Romans used to wear, like the white bed sheet.
Right. Around the head.
The whole body, you're in white.
Right. Like, I see
Yeah.
it in. If you read Asterix, for example.
Yeah. It's
right,
like
right.
Asterix.
Got it.
Yeah. So everybody had to dress up like Asterix, and we would throw the biggest parties. And as a kid, we would make money doing that.
Wow.
Yep. And then sometimes we we were young, but there was beer on the boat. There was I have to be able to justify what I'm charging for. So
But only beer or weed?
no
weed.
No. It was all beer. It was
Only
all
beer.
beer. Yeah, it was all beer. And I remember I used to get phone calls from other parents when some of the kids got too drunk. And then my mom would get phone call, and she wouldn't even know what the hell's going on. It's like, what? But it was
And what would happen back home once you got the phone calls?
nothing really happened though, because she never really understood what was going on. Yeah. So I gotta tell you, it was really some of the best years of my life.
When you were 16?
Yeah, 16, 17, 18. Despite all the crud with my father, it's really some of the best times. Yeah.
Wow. And what are your memories? Because we're also talking South Korea. So, what are your memories of like, you used to go down to South Korea, right, for vacations or stuff with your father? Would you? And during that times,
I used to go to Korea every summer.
every summer.
Yeah.
So, as an outsider who is not really a part of the culture directly, what were your impressions at back then?
Of Korea,
Yeah.
I thought it was real poor. That was real poor. It's a very, very homogeneous country. Even today, it is. You only see Koreans everywhere. It's opened up quite a bit now, but back then, you don't see any foreigners. I just enjoyed being with my cousins when I was younger because my father had so many brothers and sisters that imagine how
Right.
many cousins I have. I have 27 cousins.
Right.
Yeah. That was it was nice. It was nice growing up with them. Yeah.
And now let's, and your mother was doing all the restaurant was still there, or did she shut it down? And how long was it there?
No, restaurant was still there. Not hers, someone else's. Someone else owned it.
Okay, so it was on rent.
No, she sold it.
She sold it.
Yeah.
So when did she sell it?
She sold it 2 years prior to my father's death, so 1985 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did she manage your father's business? I mean, what she.
Obviously she works hard. She's not illiterate. She walked in and she really studied everything like she was about to take the SAT to go to Harvard University or something.
Really?
Yeah, she studied. She met all the clients herself in Korea, saying we have taken over, and she is going to continue doing what. She struggled in the beginning, but from what I can tell, is she struggled, but she really made it work. Yeah. And I think there were a lot of good people around her.
Right. That is very important in such a case.
Yep. I think my father left with a lot of good relationships. Yeah. I mean, for someone to trust her without any business background in this area, it would have been impossible. It would be like asking me to run an IT firm. I wouldn't know how to do it. I mean, I've been doing business, but I wouldn't know how to run an IT company. It's a completely different industry. I mean, but she did a great job. She really did. Yep.
And were you also helping out your brother in the business or no? I mean,
No, we were young.
like 11 and 12, right?
Yeah. We're young. So, I don't think we could have done anything.
Do you have any memory of what you were doing when this news came of your father having passed?
Yeah, I was. That's a good question. So every Sundays we go to play tennis at a place called Clearwater Bay Golf and Country Club in Hong Kong, and usually we'll have dinner there, and so we had dinner there, and then we'll come home, and then the minute we walked in, we got a phone call. I think it was one of my father's clients in Turkey, and called and said, "Hey, you should turn on the TV. I think there's news that your husband's airplane has been
Has exploded midair.
No. It wasn't even exploded. It wasn't even an explosion then because they couldn't find the plane.
Has disappeared.
Has been hijacked.
Ah.
So we turned the TV on, and then it says the plane was hijacked. So we're like, okay, at least everybody's living if it's hijacked. And then, as hours went on, they said it disappeared. And then they said it exploded. But the problem is, until today, they know where the plane is. They found parts of the plane, but they never found any bodies. I'm kind of going off tangent.
No, it's interesting. So,
But it was coming home from our usual Sunday tennis, and that's when we heard the news. But they were saying that it was hijacked, missing, and then exploded. But it was hard to believe that because they couldn't find anything. You know the Malaysian airline?
yeah.
That one missing?
Yeah,
That's
more
that's exactly what
The
happened.
Indonesian, no? Not the Malaysian. It was Indonesian, wasn't it?
It might have been Indonesian. I thought it was Malaysian.
Okay.
But
I think it was Indonesian, from what I know. And it just went missing for like 3 months. Nobody knew. And then they found debris somewhere in some...
really, they found it? I
They
thought
found debris later, a little bit of it, yeah.
Right.
But it was missing for 3 months. I mean, and in these times where everything, radars and everything is there,
yeah,
it just went
here,
missing.
but they say there's a lot of politics behind what had happened with this airplane because it was the Olympics,
Right.
and usually whenever there's Olympics, historically something would happen,
Right.
and it was new presidential election at the time. So there are words that this could have been done by the South Korean government because they caught the terrorist. The Korean CIA caught the terrorist. But she was very young at the time. And now she's living a happy life in Korea.
Which part do you believe? Which story do you believe?
I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to believe. I mean, look, it's been so long that he probably is passed away, but they have done independent searches and found parts of the plane, but they're making no effort to actually taking the plane out of the water. I mean, there's political incentives here for not doing what they're doing.
But they never found the black box. I mean,
They never found the black box. And then that flight was full of laborers, construction workers from Korea. They used to send a lot of construction workers out to the Middle East to do construction. So I think my father was the only businessman on the flight, and the rest. So what I'm trying to say is, I think they purposely chose a plane where they think they can pay off the families to shut them all up.
wow.
Does that make sense?
Of course it does.
Yeah.
I have stopped believing what governments can do. I mean, I think there's no end to how cruel governments can be. I mean,
Yeah.
governments are they without emotion, without. That's what I feel personally.
Yeah, I mean, in that plane, you don't have the son of Samsung in there or Kia.
Yeah. That would never happen. If it was deliberate, it would never happen.
Yeah.
You're right. Or they would already get a phone call saying, "Don't send your son today."
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, no, this has happened. I think. I mean, it's not like something
Yeah.
which has had happened before. So, from a personal perspective, for you, your mother, and your brother, Can you say that you never really had closure because you never found a body, you never saw, what? Would you look at it like that?
No, I think we have closure by now.
Your closure.
Yeah. I mean, it took a long time, but you have to have closure. There's no way of continuing to think whether it really happened, it didn't happen. I mean, I think about it sometimes, but it's not a priority in my life to keep thinking.
If you still think about it, there's still a little window open somewhere in you.
Oh yeah, because first of all, I think the truth will come out someday. The truth will definitely come out someday.
And anybody who's done it is already dead, actually. I mean, so
For sure.
so there's nothing really.
For
It's just
sure.
the truth. It's for the families of the people who know more. That's all that it serves.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all that it serves, actually.
Yeah. So
Wow. I mean, so sorry, you have to say something?
no.
Okay. I think you have a great story. I mean, this is it's amazing.
It's
and knowing
scary.
you, we have only met for a day. And sorry, you're saying something.
I said it's scary. I mean, I don't wish this upon anybody.
Yes.
The worst nightmare.
Not knowing, and also not knowing at the end of it, where, like, for years it must have been whether he actually died, whether I'm sure he did, because
Yeah.
but the whole thing, because you don't see a body, and that's closure. No, if
Yeah.
you see a body, and even in whatever state it is, it's like, okay, this is
Yeah.
closure for me as a family, that my father is actually no more.
Yeah.
But to never see a body, I think it has some kind of, and particularly if I think from whatever you told me so far, Yong, it is very clear that you loved and adored your father a lot.
Yeah.
And so
I sure did.
and it would have, and knowing that, because we spent a whole evening yesterday getting drunk, and I would have never thought you had this story to tell me. I mean, obviously you send me a message, but I mean, the depth of the story is it's very nice of you to share it with my audience. And
Yeah.
it's so nice.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. I drop a new episode every Friday night at around 10 pm. I will also end this and every episode by recommending a film or a web series. But before that, here is a small message on how you can help to keep this podcast alive and growing. This episode is free and we intend to keep it that way. But it does take a lot of time, money and effort to produce the show. We research, write, record and edit before we finally present it to you. So if you wish to support our effort, you can help us produce the show by contributing any amount you wish on our website, conversationswithatul.com. Please note that the word conversations is plural with an S. So do visit conversationswithatul.com. Since we're talking about South Korea, let me recommend a lovely South Korean film for you. The film I recommend today is written and directed by Na Hong-jin and called The Wailing. With the arrival of a mysterious stranger, a serious illness starts to envelop a small village in South Korea as a middle-aged cop is running against time to solve the case and save his daughter. The Wailing rates a super 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Do watch if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter by following my Twitter handle Atul Taishete, spelled as ATULTAISHETE. Also, do visit my website Conversations, that is Conversations plural with an S. The complete website address is conversationswithatul.com. In the second part of this 3-episode series with South Korean business icon Yong Lee, he shared his emotional journey of how his elder brother was paralyzed in a freak accident, and Yong became his brother's arms and legs for the next 10 years. His brother was his first patient, and that one life-changing sad event was what eventually led him to the home care business. So please welcome business icon Yong Lee, who will draw a picture for us of how wonderful Hong Kong was in the 80s and 90s, how in spite of being an atheist, he organizes memorial services for his brother, and how he always endeavors to find joy in what he does. Hi, I'm Atul Taishete, and welcome to my podcast, Conversations with Atul. But before we begin, please do check out my not to miss film recommendation that I make at the end of every episode. Also, here is a small message on a book I've written, which is easily available on Amazon worldwide and which can help you to write screenplays, novels, and much more. Have you ever watched a film or a series or read a novel and felt, I can write better than this? Except you didn't really know how to. But now you can try your hand at writing screenplays, web series, or novels with a little help from my book called Anybody Can Write a Film. Devoid of film jargon and loaded with examples from popular films, my book simplifies the process to write films, series, or even a novel. Available on Amazon worldwide under the title Anybody Can Write a Film, Demystifying the Screenwriting Process by Atul. Visit Amazon.in to buy the book in India and Amazon in your respective countries to buy the Kindle version. Anybody can write a film. Now with my book, anybody actually can.
So now let's come back to you and what it was like for you
Yeah.
growing up in Hong Kong. What kind of a place was Hong Kong back then?
Oh, Hong Kong is really the best place in the world.
Even now with China taking over completely?
I don't know what it's like to live there now because I have left since 1992. So, but when I was there, it's just such a privileged city. It's got the best of everything. Really, you're exposed to like all kinds of different cultures, food.
It was like New York.
It was like New York. It is like New York. Better than New York, I think.
It's a port city, so I mean,
It's a port city, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you ask me, Hong Kong was just such a fun place to live in. Would I live there now? Probably not. Because now when I go back, it's like, I feel like I'm so packed. Like everything is so small.
Right.
After living in New York for so long, it's like everything was, and I don't want to raise my kids in that crazy environment. Yeah.
Because I've seen these pictures of Hong Kong and it's like this huge building and it looks like small windows.
Yeah.
Not even like India. I mean, like this huge building with probably 1,000 apartments in that building.
Yeah.
In that one building, and
Like
just
a
small windows.
bird's
in.
cage.
Yeah, like a bird cage. That's right. That's what they called it actually.
Yeah.
And that's what it has become. But probably it's true with every big city in the world with urbanization, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And a city which became very popular because I have a lot of friends living in Hong Kong from a business school.
There are lots of Indians in Hong
Yeah.
Kong. And a lot of them speak really good Cantonese.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Cantonese, is it different from Mandarin or
It's a dialect.
it's a dialect?
Yeah. It's a dialect of Chinese, but Cantonese speakers cannot communicate with Mandarin speakers. It's a completely different.
Oh, but the words are similar, quite a few. Then it would be a dialect, right?
No, no words are similar.
So isn't
It's
it,
like speaking a different language from another country.
then it's a different language altogether.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What do you remember? What is your first memory of Hong Kong? Like, what are your early memories? Let's not go to first. I mean, like when you were young and when you were a kid, like really like a 3, 4, 5, 7, 6-year-old kid. And what is the thing that you remember of Hong Kong? Doing what, for example?
Going to my mom's restaurant all the time.
And where was this? You remember the address?
Sure, it's 16 Hanoi Road.
Okay.
Yeah. 16 Hanoi Road. And I still, today when I go to Hong Kong, I still walk by that big tree in front of where the restaurant used to be. Because that's where I climbed that tree all the time. This is me and my brother always climbing a tree up and down, up and down.
What tree was it? What?
It was just a regular tree. I don't know what kind of tree, but it was perfect for climbing. Yeah, and I remember my mom always yelling, "Get down from the tree! Get down from the tree!" Yeah.
You and your brother.
Yeah. Yeah, that was those are fond memories. Yeah.
And what was your brother to you when growing up? What was your brother to you? Was
So he was he's pretty quiet.
even as a kid?
Yeah, him and I have complete opposite personality. I talk a lot more. I'm more extroverted. He's a lot more introverted. And he also has a lot of Korean tradition in him, and he tried. I think he felt like he had to play that father role also.
Right, right.
So
So he treated you like that as a son, or was it?
I
mean,
felt like sometimes it was like that.
okay.
Yeah.
So would you like to believe, or would you? Am I right in saying, or not? Would you like to believe? But am I right in saying that his personality was influenced by what happened, and he became quieter because he thought that he needed to take.
No, he was
over-
always quiet.
He was always quiet, even before
Yeah.
your father's.
Yeah.
So that is that's a very fatherly trait, no? To be quiet, largely. I mean,
Yeah.
at least the fathers of those times. I mean, today's parents are a little different, but I think.
Yeah. My father was not quiet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a traditional fatherly trait, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So he was very studious. He's always reading books and he's studying, and I was quite the opposite. I'm not the real academic type. So he would always tell me, you have to be studying. You're not going to go anywhere if you don't study. And I was like, yeah. Look, it's the hummingbird singing a song again. So I sometimes when he walks by my room, I just open up the book just to look like I'm reading a book. So him and I were complete opposite. Yeah.
What else? So you went to this American school when you were younger, and you went to the same school, right? Both of you?
Yeah, we went to Hong Kong International School, both of us. And then he went to college 1991 in Pennsylvania. And then I ended up going to college 1992 in Pennsylvania. And that's our first journey into...
But why I'm asking you this is different. Because your brother was a little quieter, and I think a lot of teachers in school must be fond of him compared. Would I be right in saying this? I mean, and then there's you after that in the same school. And is there, like, I don't know this because this happened with a sister of a friend of mine, and they used to say, okay, but she is his sister, and look at her and look at him, Was that?
I remember this one time when at school they were giving out awards, and there was an academic award, and they said the name wrong. My brother's Yong Lee, and I'm Yong Lee, and they said Yong Lee, and I walked halfway out, and I was like, wait a minute, that cannot be me. And they're like, oh, sorry, Yong Lee. Okay. So everybody had their jaw drop when they heard my name.
I forgot to ask you, what were your parents' names? What is your father's name and what is your mother's name?
So my mom is Sung Ja Chang.
Sung Ja Shang.
Yeah, Korean names usually have 3 parts.
And do they have meanings, these names, in Korean, or they're just random names?
I think interpreted into Chinese character, it might have some meaning. But don't ask me what that means.
No. I'm asking you because Indians will always ask you this question, because in India, a lot of names are meanings.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think there's meaning.
There's a meaning.
Yeah, and then my father is Kyo Un Lee.
Yong Lee.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I don't know what the meaning behind his name is.
No, I just wanted to listen to it because just to understand the sound of a, because yours is a very simple name, Yong Lee, but
Yeah.
I just want to understand what a real Korean, old Korean name sounds like, just to get the sound of Korean,
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
idea actually of asking you
Yeah.
this. And tell me memories of your school. What do you remember in school as a student, and whether you were, how naughty were you, and what were you getting beaten up by the teachers for being the way you were?
No, I got along with the teachers. They I was never the greatest student in school academically, but I had a lot of friends. School was a fun place for me. I mean, minus the academics, it was a fun place for me. I mean, I love the sports part. I just love being with friends, and also the fact that a lot of the kids, we've been through the years together, ever since like lower school, which I even still talk to a lot of them, and I meet with some of them when some of them live in New York, so I meet with some of them. We have reunions, but they also were the same group of friends that were around when my father passed away. So they know everything about it, and very supportive. The school was very supportive. So this school really means a lot to me. I have more memories of high school than college. College,
A lot of it's true for a lot of people.
yeah, college. I only have maybe some friends that I call upon, but not like high school. High school were
It's a coming of age thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Any specific memory that you have of school? Like if you remember something that you did something, or you achieved something, or you really got a good spanking, or whatever. I mean, anything that you remember. You were really naughty, or whatever. I mean, any memory that you have, or 2 memories, or 10. I mean, that's okay.
I hope my kids never listen to this.
No, I mean, your kids are far smarter than you're giving them credit for. They don't think they've seen you. They know that the father is not the one. Yeah.
Well, in school, I think my biggest memory is throwing that party.
On the ferries.
Yeah. And we invited all the schools in Hong Kong, British schools. They're all British schools because it was Hong Kong was a British colony.
Right.
And so we literally invited the whole world.
So you were like an event coordinator. You made an event.
So my best friend and I, we would just sit there and count money. It was,
What's your best friend's name?
his name's Guy Rocca.
Who's Jewish Israeli?
Yes, and half Italian.
Yes. Jewish is Israeli Jew plus half Italian.
Yeah.
That's what you told me yesterday.
Yep.
So he's been your friend, because you talked very fondly of him yesterday night.
My best friend.
No, that's what I'm saying, that you talk fondly of him, but you've been counting money with him since you were like 13 or 14.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, now I count money with my other best friend, Vikram. Now I can't count anymore, so he counts all.
Yeah. And how did this idea occur to you that we can do this? Now this is something where, is this the first taste of entrepreneurship for you?
I didn't even think it was entrepreneurship. I just
But it is in hindsight.
I just enjoyed counting that money. It was
No, but I'm saying that it is in hindsight. It is something
it
entrepreneurial.
is. It is.
So what was it like for you? I mean, like, if you think about it, even then, that, okay, I mean, it may also be as simple as, oh, I want to have a party and nobody else is having a party, so let me arrange one for myself. That can also be a part of why you went and did this. But it's also the first, is it the first, or did you do anything else before this? That's actually what I want to know.
Oh yeah, we did a few.
Like what?
Uh,
Businesses, I mean, other businesses, like.
no parties. It was just something we did. Like in Hong Kong, there are these trams. So we call it the tram party. So we would rent the trams, and it would circulate Hong Kong while the kids are partying and drinking in the tram.
Wow.
Yeah. And one time, my best friend Guy, his parents were gone, so we practically bought the whole supermarket of beer, and we charged everybody money for them to come and.
But how did you get the beer on the tram? Because that would be illegal, no?
Oh no! In Hong Kong, they don't care.
So you just need to bribe a few people. Or.
No, you don't even need to bribe, as long as you have money to pay. Yeah, Hong
Money
Kong.
to pay whom?
The tram company.
That's all.
That's it.
Oh, really?
That's it.
But it wouldn't be, you wouldn't be legally allowed to have liquor at that age, right? Technically speaking.
We don't even know what the
Legal age is.
We don't even know. We thought the legal age was if we can, put
Buy
the
it
bottle
with-
right up to the mouth. If you're strong enough to lift the bottle up to your mouth, you're legal age.
Or the legal age is if you can buy it, you can drink it.
Yep.
That would also be the legal age. And how many people turned up for this tram party?
Tram parties were usually about 60 to 100 people.
The music blaring in the tram.
Music blaring. Look,
It's like you took the whole tram, or you just took like one.
the whole
boat?
thing, double decker, top and bottom, whole thing, front to back, and then my friend and I, our job is to make sure nobody jumps off that tram. So we just walk up and down, making sure nobody jumps off the train.
I have this memory of business school that I went to, and we had just finished with our placement season, the final placement season, and we had a similar party in a ferry of the Gateway of India, because Bombay has the sea. I mean, it's a huge sea, and you can have a party. I never knew this because I didn't come from that kind of background, so didn't know that people could actually party on a ferry, like you are talking about. But the thing here, difference was that we just finished with our placement season, and obviously in placement, some people get good jobs and some people don't get good jobs. So I remember this friend of mine, and there's this party going on, and people are dancing and they get drunk, and this guy is sitting on the edge of the boat.
Did he fall off?
No, he didn't fall off, but a lot of people were scared that maybe he'll jump or maybe he'll not.
Gosh.
It was strange. Now I remember it like that, honestly. And that is it.
Yeah, it was a disaster on our boat. Like, people kicked open the bathroom door, it fell off the hinges, and there was a couple down in the basement of the boat doing stuff that they were not supposed to do, and it was...
But making out or drugs?
I think making out, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why were they not supposed to make out? I mean, that's young people. I mean.
Yeah, I know, but that was one of the rules.
Okay.
And there were a couple rules there, but...
I think in a party, drugs could possibly be a rule, but if not making out, I don't think anybody's going to listen to you on that one.
Yeah, I know, but it was we were lucky nobody jumped off the boat.
But
Yeah,
because they were really high,
yeah,
and that's why you're sitting here.
yeah. In hindsight, it could be the start of my entrepreneur days. Yeah.
I think that is where it is, because and you come from an entrepreneurial family.
That's true
It's
too.
always so you always. It's not about money all the time. It's just about. It doesn't start with money. I mean, obviously, with there are communities in India who are very money driven communities, as in
Yeah.
religion and wise. But I think with you, it must have been about having fun. But you are, and like when we're talking now, it is entrepreneurial. It's very entrepreneurial.
I have to. Yeah, I mean, look, with anybody, you have to. I mean, like you said last night, you have to find joy in what you do.
Right. Right.
You know, unfortunately, a lot of people, it's just a job. I don't want it to be just another job. I have to really enjoy it. It has to be stimulating. If it doesn't have those factors, it's meaningless.
And what about girlfriends then? Did you have any or no? Or it was normal like any teenager?
Of course not. Never.
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 But you were this major event organizer in Hong Kong in your school.
Yeah, but my mom was very strict like that, though.
Okay, no girls.
Yeah, no girls, and she was very strict like that. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's a big deal to hold a girl's hand,
Of course, during those times. It
Yeah.
was. It was. So you never got to hold a girl's hand.
No.
Or you're lying.
Or I might have held a hand by accident, but never intentionally.
Oh my god, accidental hand holding. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. That's what it's come down to.
Yes, but I never had a girlfriend.
Okay,
I had friends. I had a lot of friends.
right.
Yeah.
And then you, because your brother went to the US, you
Mm-hmm.
followed him, right? After that. So how was it? I mean, what was the process that he? Why did he go to the US? What was the reason?
Well, he wanted like any other.
He won a scholarship.
No.
Okay.
Like any other Korean parent, they want their kids to become a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer. So he was in biology major, studying, I guess, towards going to medical school. And then I went to a school near him. He went to Gettysburg College, and I went to another school near him called Albright College, and I was a business major, but college was a big. College was not really that fun for me. It was a time that it was the hardest time of my life, because my brother he got injured playing rugby and broke his neck and became paralyzed from neck down. So
In how many years after you landed?
this was the start of my third year.
So the first 2 years were also tough. I mean, before this happened.
No, the first 2 years was not tough. The first 2 years was it was only tough because I went from Hong Kong to literally like Bumblebee, nothing. This place, Reading, Pennsylvania. It's like so rural that it was so you can't go to a supermarket without a car.
Exactly. In
You
the
know,
US, that's a problem.
It's
yeah.
a culture shock.
Yeah.
It's a big culture shock.
Yeah.
So, but I had fun in my own ways. Yeah, I wasn't like a fraternity boy or anything like that, but
What is a fraternity boy?
this is where people in America, they pay money to become friends. It's
Pay money to become friends.
yeah, it's these groups that is they have like chapters. They name the groups have names like
It's
Greek
like a club.
Greek name. They're clubs, but like Alpha Omega Pi, or they have these Greek, and then they typically rent houses
And our parties.
and have parties, and you pay money to become part of that group, and a lot of Americans do that, and I wasn't quite like that. But my first 2 years I had fun. But I wouldn't say same fun like high school though. It was although I spoke English well, it was still a culture shock.
So one thing is to have a culture shock because you come from a different country.
Yes.
But another thing is that to feel culturally different. And was there acceptance of you as someone who's come from a foreign country? Because kids can be pretty mean, I mean, at a certain age. So was
I don't think I felt particularly like treated different in any which way, but but the only thing is when they ask me, "You're from Hong Kong," they say, "Oh, is that in Tokyo?" So that's how ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think just a general level of ignorance in the US, I mean, so it's not something, it's about everything almost.
Yeah.
Even Europe, they're ignorant about, it's okay if they're ignorant about India, but I think a lot of them are also ignorant about Europe. But the Europeans are very well aware. Like I studied in Paris, I'm saying that I've met a lot of Europeans who are far more aware about the world than the Americans are. So I think
today Americans are, well, actually, no, if you go to middle of America, they could not tell you where some of these other countries are.
Right.
Yeah, quite ignorant. Yeah.
So that's...
But I did not feel like I was treated in any differently. Yeah. And I saw quite a few Koreans in the school too. So.
But were your friends largely Koreans then, or what was a more diverse group?
No. Most of my friends were Caucasians.
Okay.
And I had one friend from Sri Lanka.
Okay.
But yeah, most of them were Caucasians.
But there is a tendency for migrants particularly to huddle together. I mean, that's fairly common.
Completely, yeah. I think as I got older in college, like my senior years, I started to have more Korean friends than Caucasian friends. But I still know a lot of Caucasians from my schooling days.
But how come? What do you attribute that to? I mean, that you were... because that's what I'm saying, that if you come from a foreign country, it is a little more difficult. I mean, either you are overwhelmed by what you're seeing, and so either that is the reason why because if I'm sure a lot of Indians will try and huddle together in India, and I know this because two of my sister's sons have gone out and they're living with two other Indians, so I'm saying that this is a fairly common thing. But you didn't do that, which is very...
Yeah, well, in my school in Hong Kong, it was it was all Caucasians.
Right. It was a more... So.
There was very few Asians in that school.
So used to that kind of a culture.
Yeah, I'm very used to it. Yeah, but like especially like in today's world, it doesn't even matter where you're from. It's it's just one big melting pot,
But that would be in the bigger cities, I think. I don't think it's
true.
So true. Yeah,
True.
Yeah. Like even in Bombay, for example, Bombay is different. A certain part of Bombay is very different. A certain part of Bombay is extremely conservative. And Bombay is the biggest city in India. I mean, more commercial capital, more everything, but it's still very conservative in parts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how New York is, but I'm saying that there are places which are very conservative, and there are places which are very liberal. I mean, so it's that's how it is with even the big cities. The big cities like like Bombay, so that's how I understand it. And what has been now, let's get to your journey of, because I know your businesses and I think Young, it's been a phenomenal ride for you and so you basically came to a country like the US with almost nothing, you know, and
Yeah.
and from there you have this multi-million dollar business and multi-billion dollar businesses, not a one business,
Yeah.
and it's an amazing. I think it's been an amazing ride for you, and we should come to this ride now. And from college, how was no first? I'm sorry, I just missed this. But with your brother, what actually? How did that go?
So he again broke his neck playing rugby.
Was he good at rugby or
Oh,
what?
he was good. He was a good rugby player.
Okay.
Yeah, he was good. It was a freak accident. Should not have happened, but he was playing rugby against Army, and I like to say that in rugby in the United States, it's more of the defective football players who can't make it into football. They'll go into rugby, and they don't quite know the rules quite well, and they end up hurting people. Well, at least back then it was like that. And so his life completely changed. I don't know if you remember, I told you before, he was like more of like a father figure,
Right.
right? Well, imagine now you can't do anything for yourself.
His brain was active though.
Completely active.
And he couldn't what actually? I mean, was he was in a wheelchair all the time? Was he was in bed all the time? What was it?
He was in a wheelchair.
And nothing. He couldn't move his hands. He couldn't. What was it?
Nope, it was just his shoulders. He could move it up and down, and then his head left and right.
Even now?
No, he passed away 2003.
2003.
Yeah. So the lifespan of quadriplegic usually is about 10 years at most. Because you'll die from
How do you
complication.
define a quadriplegic? I mean, what's the,
So if you have no movement of all four limbs, your arms and your legs.
Okay. Oh, that's
You're
the quad.
considered-
That's where the quad.
Yeah, and then if you just have the lower half that cannot move, then it's a paraplegic. Yeah. So, and then from that day on, his life changed.
This was in 1994, right?
Yes, 1994. I got a call. I was at the time attending Boston University. And what was I doing that evening? I was, I think I was with some friends at some friend's house. And I got a call saying it was actually my friend's brother, my friend from Hong Kong, her brother was going to the same school as my brother. And he said, hey, something happened to your brother. He got into an accident while playing rugby. And I think you should come down. And usually, you would think it's a broken rib or a broken leg or a broken arm. And when I went there, I saw when I finally got there, there was 30 people in front of the surgery room. They were all still in their rugby outfit, and everybody was concerned. And then do you know what a chaplain is?
Well, no.
They come and they help you with the situation.
Like a psychotherapist at that point.
Something like that. That helps you with coping with the situation, and then they explain how the seriousness of, and I let it settle in my head for 24 hours before I built that courage to call my mother. Because, my God, this is going to...
So your mother was in Hong Kong?
Yeah. She was still working. That was the toughest. Making that phone call. It was dialing those numbers it was not easy, and then trying to tell her. So I kind of had to do the same thing and say, he got injured, but I think you should come here. But they sense things. Something is wrong.
Something is seriously wrong now.
Something is seriously wrong. So she came.
She came to the US.
She came like the next day. She came, and that was the beginning of life changing, complete life changer. They said there could be a chance that he could walk. So always kept that hope that he could walk one day. But I have never left his side ever since the day he got injured. I did everything for him. I was his arms and legs.
For those 10 years?
Yep.
There was a... sorry, please.
No, it was I was still very young, so it completely threw me off. Like trying to accept the situation. Sometimes thinking maybe he's better off dead right at the spot, so he won't be having such a shitty quality of life. Just all kinds of thoughts. But for him, it's even worse, for such an active person you can think, but you can't do anything.
Yeah, you're not dead here.
Yeah.
Not dead in the head.
Yeah, you're dead in the body. I mean, to give you a perspective of what it's like is he has what you call a sip and puff wheelchair. So there's a straw that comes. When you blow on the straw, the wheelchair will go forward. When you suck on the straw, it'll go backwards. When you blow lightly, it'll turn right. When you suck lightly, it'll turn left. That's how he got around. Yeah. So it's quality of life was just horrible. And that is the reason why I got into the home care business and taking care of
elderly people.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
So
and he's the reason.
So it was more as something, as an act of kindness that you wanted to do, that you got into the business.
Yep.
It was not with any intention to make money
No.
Wow.
No, my brother was my first patient.
For 10 years.
And I was like, he's considered a difficult to care for patient. Mentally and physically. So we would get a lot of caregivers who would come and they would leave. So I was like, okay, as my first client in my agency, I'm going to take the money that his insurance pays and I'm going to give it all to the worker so they won't leave. So they were typically at the time they were getting paid $7.25 or $8 an hour, and I would give them all the money, like $17 or something an hour, and they were very happy. But I quickly realized I had a problem. I didn't realize there's payroll taxes and Medicare fees you have to pay, unemployment. I was like, wait a minute, I'm losing money here. So as being the first patient, I realized, there are issues here. I just can't give all the money away.
So, I mean, if you have to look at it, it's like that was your training ground for your business.
Yeah.
Which is a very successful business. We'll come to the business part of it, because I think people in India, we need to make them understand what the business is. It's about that the government pays for you to care for somebody. That doesn't happen in India. That's why. So, and you are the agency which runs that. That is the business that you run.
That is correct.
Right? So we can understand it later. We can talk about this later, but I'm looking at it more not from a business perspective, but simply from a personal, emotional point of view. Is that I think that knowing you and having spent a good 3-4 hours with you yesterday, I have a feeling that when you were younger and when you had an older brother who was completely healthy, you must have been a little irresponsible just by the virtue of, I have a brother, he'll take care of it.
Yeah.
I have a brother, so what's the big deal? I mean, he'll take care of it.
Completely.
And then what has happened is that this accident happens. And your brother was also a father figure. I mean, even internally, your brother felt like a father to you.
Yep.
And then when this happens, and I have a very similar personal story which I'll share with you of my mother, is that the roles completely reversed, and you were suddenly the father, and he was like your son, and he was your first son in a way. The way you're looking after him, like I think that's like looking after a quadriplegic. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's like looking after I think a 15-day-old baby.
Yeah,
it's
completely.
It's exactly like that. So you're actually seeing parenthood. I mean, and you're not ready for it because you yourself are like what?
Well, 15-months-old cannot talk yet, so that's the difference.
Yes, of course. But you see, even if it's a 3-year-old baby, for example, even a 3-year-old baby can go and do things by herself or himself. Yeah. But say a 6-month-old can't,
Yeah, so the roles have completely changed from when prior to being injured to after being injured. He's become completely dependent on me. Yeah.
And it became like and what was your mental makeup on this? I mean, when this happened, what was your mental makeup?
Just a lot of confusion and anger, a lot of anger. Not only was he angry, I was angry too, and I feel like we're both scared too. We were both scared shitless because we're still very young. Both of us were still very young, so we're not quite sure where everything was going. Or what holds for our future. And I kept thinking, man, I got to live the rest of my life taking care of my brother.
Yeah, conflicted, obviously. I mean.
Yeah, it was just, and so the rest of my college years, it was not normal. I didn't have a normal lifestyle thereafter. It was, everything was about my brother.
Were you at any point little resentful of this? Because it's taking away...
It was. I was a little resentful, but I don't think I ever once said anything that I was resentful to him, to his face.
No, but it's natural to be resentful. That's how I understand it.
Yeah.
Like if you have to look after somebody, like I've heard my friends say of their kids, they said, just leave me alone. I don't want to see this kid for the next 5 years. It happens that the kid just goes in your head at some
Yeah.
point, and you say, and I've heard this, and a lot of people will tell you that it's a very natural response
Yeah.
to bringing up children.
Yeah, and you know, it would have been easier if he was younger than me, and I could have said, "Hey, stop, be quiet," or you know. But he was older than me, and we had that respect thing, you know, as an older brother. So you know, dealing with his anger, that was also a very difficult part. Yeah.
But it must have also been, I'm just guessing here, a conjecture, pure conjecture, is that somewhere whenever that resentment must have tried to shine through in your head, you must have somewhere also argued it back, saying that if this had happened to me, this brother of mine would have looked after me like a baby. I mean, you know, so that is, I mean, that also pushes back the resentment, I guess, because it is, and it's true, because he was always like an elder, like a father to you. So he would always look at you like a child and say, okay, this is my destiny and this is what I need to do for him. So if the roles were reversed, even in that, whether you're older or younger, I don't think that matters here. It's just that you would have, I think it happens. I say all this is because my mother has a similar story. Is that when they were very rich when they were younger, and then they lost everything, and they didn't even have, then in the village near Goa, since it's Goa, you would know Goa, so, and there was no food in the house and nothing, you know. So but that is when it would have been.
Yeah.
So that is what it would have been like, you know, and there was nothing, there was no food, there was nothing at home. And her father died, and then her brother who was looking after the house died, and there was nobody, and then she had nothing to do, but she took over that role. She just got into that role.
Oh my.
And she married her younger sister first, which is very uncommon in India, and then she got her elder sister married first. Then she got a younger sister married first, and then there was nobody to marry her as for, like, she got married around 30, 31, which is very rare during that time, because people would get married at 18.
Oh, that's
17.
late.
That's really late. And I have actually recorded an episode with her, not for public consumption, but just as, you know, as to understand her and her story. And it was, it's very similar in the way,
Yep.
you know, that you feel. And then she was completely, like what you're calling a quadriplegic. So pelagic. So this had happened to her 3 times in her life, where she was completely gone. And when she was, like, I think 16 years old, and when she was married to my father, and I was 8 years old and was too young to understand it, and she couldn't move her hand, nothing. It's only the brain which was active. And
Wow.
my father looked after her like a baby for like a year before she got back. So I understand, you know, where you're coming from,
wow.
and what you're saying. I understand it completely, and I'm sure there will be resentment. There will be a lot of things, because it's all about money. Also, it's because everything is a scarce resource, you know.
Yeah.
When you don't have it, and I'm sure it must have worked out like this, and it's really something. I'm amazed with your story.
Yeah, no, but
Because you seem such a happy-go-lucky guy. I mean,
Yeah.
since we've spent some time yesterday,
yeah.
and you still have a story which is really emotional.
And I think that is why I try to be a happy-go-lucky guy.
Okay.
I don't need to live my life thinking of, you know, all the things that happen. I can't dwell on it. I can't stop my life because of all of that.
Right.
You know, but one thing I did learn is whatever takes me down, I'll come up even harder.
You said something to me yesterday, and because that is why I don't talk too much with whoever I'm talking with, is because you said that half of my family is dead. You know, you said that to me yesterday. You know, and I think beyond a point, I think it's like because your father died in a freak accident, is not supposed to die then, and your brother had this thing which
Freak accident.
again a freak accident, and it's a lot of freak accidents to take, to take in.
it takes a ginormous toll on your mental. Enormous toll. It's I am surprised I'm not like in a mental institution. It's
You're not only not in a mental institution, you have shown through it, and you become this extremely successful businessman in a country which you had nothing to do with.
yeah,
And the US is not an easy place to become successful in business, I think.
yeah,
So and with ethnicity which is not really Caucasian, or which is not really even black, because you're not from that country in a way,
correct.
and still getting and achieving something. But it's amazing how this personal experience has led to running a business which is more empathy driven. Because before this, I would have, because even otherwise, I have to be very straight and honest here, Young. I would have looked at you as a very typical cutthroat businessman, But no, I'm being very straight and honest here, And I don't think that is you. And I think maybe over a period of time you let the business do its thing. But I don't think that is you at all. It comes from having led a personal life of having understood what these people who are old people who I can care for, and now it's a business. Okay, so it's a business, but that business has roots in your personal life.
Correct. And those roots are, the very roots I would like to keep in the business, where people have to know where I came from and why I'm doing this. Yeah.
And when did your brother died in 2004?
So he died 2003.
Yeah.
He ended up going to the hospital because 5 years into his injury, he developed a brain tumor called medulloblastoma. It's a pediatric brain tumor. It's in your cerebellum, in the back of your brain. And he went into remission after his first surgery, and then it came back 5 years later, and he got his second surgery, and he was getting chemo, but it was hard for him to handle the chemo. So ever since the chemo, it was just completely going downhill for him, and he was in the ICU for 2 months as a vegetable, completely supported through machines. And then the doctors finally pulled me in and said, "Hey, listen, this is not going to be easy, but you have to make a decision.
Let him go."
Yeah, pull the plug. Or I remember going. Well, the hospital is Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. So it's right by the East River in Manhattan. And I went and I bought myself a bottle of vodka. And I was drinking, and I was like, my God, this is the hardest decision I will ever have to make. It was like I'm not sure what I was supposed to do. But I knew that the quality of life that he has is even worse than when he was just injured. So I ended up going back, told them, pull the plug. And a day later, he passed.
So were you there after they pulled the plug with
Oh
him?
yeah, I was.
So you saw the life go out of him slowly.
Yeah, I was there the whole time. I told you,
And yeah, sorry.
I've never left his side since his injury.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And where was your mother? I mean, she was.
She came to New York. I had to kind of lie to her along the way. They're like, she's like, why are they pulling all the plug? I said, because he's getting better. I know it's she'll find out the next day, but
Was she angry with you?
She was very angry. But that anger, I know it's not going to last forever. So
Did she say things which she obviously didn't mean at that point in time, that maybe you didn't want the
Completely.
responsibility and
completely, she went as far as to say I murdered him.
right?
So it's fine. I mean,
Wow. No, but it's a very, very, because medical science is so advanced right now that it's easy to keep people alive, and it's a very difficult decision for a lot of people everywhere.
look, all my relatives were there, and they all said the same thing to me. And I'm like, why didn't you guys ever come and take care of him, and now you come and tell me what to do? So my relatives, I told them, you guys can all bug off. I don't need to listen to your comments. But my mom, I really needed to first protect her from.
Absolutely. And how long did this last, the anger towards you for?
Not long.
Not long.
Not long at all.
She understood, right? I mean, in the
Of
moment.
course. I mean, I can't imagine losing a son.
Yes.
It,
Because you've-
I have 3 lovely sons. I can't
I
imagine.
mean, children, not necessarily sons, but I mean, I think any child that is,
Any child, yeah.
it's not an easy
It's
thing.
yeah. It will be very difficult.
Yong, I mean, you have been a revelation, and I didn't expect you to be one. So, yeah, so I think we'll get to now your personal journey of your business, and that should be it.
I hope I'm not bringing down the mood of.
No, that is the mood of. I think the whole thing is that is what it is about. Because to reach this, we had to talk about everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope you understand how my podcast works.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
you can't you will never tell me this. You have said or told me all this after like around 2 hours of talking.
Yeah.
So it helps me discover you as a person. It helps my audience discover that there is this whole world around us which is very similar.
Yeah.
I'm sure that someone in India would feel no different. Like what my mom felt then, or what my dad felt then, is no different from what you felt now.
Yeah.
Or some friend of mine, I think, who just had to pull a plug. I remember this very close friend of mine. He more recently, his mother was in hospital, and then they finally told the doctor, okay, because she kept on going in and out. So she said, okay, she's to go, let her go, because we
Yeah.
don't want to see her in pain. So
to tell you honestly, telling you about the success of my business is really the minority part of this conversation.
now, because that you
It is because
Yeah.
success, yes, okay, I've done well in a lot of the business, but in here, I think what has developed into starting these businesses, it's what's more important than what I'm doing now.
It's the story.
Yeah.
It's the story which led to what we are, and now we'll come to the story of this story, what this story led to, what story, and this multi-million-dollar business that you run today. So we will come to that. So Yong, before we get into the business part of it, I had this one question for you. You are an atheist, right?
I'm an atheist right now.
An
yes.
atheist. But since when? I mean, since you were a kid, or since
No, I was born into Buddhist.
into Buddhism?
Yeah, my father side, they were all Buddhist, and I went to the temple almost every Sunday, and that's how I grew up. And it was something that I kept as a tradition because it's something you grow up with, you see it, so you just do it, you follow it. And when my brother got injured and he passed away, I completely lost
Faith.
faith in it could have been any religion. I would have
Right.
probably lost faith.
Right.
And then but I still keep so my father and my brother, they have we do a memorial service for them every year, and they're both Buddhists. So out of respect, I still go once a year for the memorial service. So I tell the monks in the temple that this is the day, and I would like for you guys to perform a memorial service for my father and my brother. So I go once a year, and my family comes with me. My wife is she's born into Christian.
Okay.
So, I mean, to respect my wife, sometimes I go to church on Sundays, and typically I fall asleep there, but I go sometimes. And I don't know if I told you, I wrote a part of a book, a chapter of a
Yes,
book.
you did. Yes.
Yeah, it's called Blue Jean Buddha. It's somebody who wrote the book about devout young Buddhists. And back then I like memorized all the chants and
The rituals.
Yeah, so I wrote a portion of that book, but today I'm an atheist. It's no longer a part of...
When you wrote that book, you wrote it as a theist, did you? Or
No, I wrote it as a Buddhist.
as a Buddhist, but as someone who believes in Buddhism.
Back then, it was before my brother passed away.
Ah.
Yeah,
And you're writing as a devout Buddhist.
yes,
Wow.
yes,
Wow.
yes. I quickly realized I have to believe in myself. I make my own fate. Yeah.
That's my over the years. I think what I've realized about, for me, religion is, I think I finally cracked why I could say that religion is a human construct. Is because I had this. I think there have been religions all through, like pagan religions, and people used to worship nature, and and before they started forming forms of
Yeah.
different gods. But I had this simple thought. I said, like, the earth is 4.5 billion years old, and the oldest organized religion is 5,000 years old. So do the math. I mean,
Yeah.
it has to.
It's not significant.
Yeah, it's 5,000 years old. There's no significance as compared to 4.5 billion years old. So somewhere it has to be a human construct,
Yeah.
for fear, for power, for everything, and that's how it has always been. I
Yeah.
mean, so that's all how I thought about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
And so in there, look, even until today, it's been 20 some years, but that's what I want to teach my children. You can believe anything you want,
Right.
but I think you have to believe yourself the most. Yeah. I think religion gets the best of you when you are seeking for help. Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
And
Yes, because like you, exactly. I have been, like, I used to go to the temple like thrice a week, and earlier on, even today I pray in the morning, but I don't think I believe it the same way anymore, but it's out of habit
Yep.
that I have for like decades of since I was a kid.
yeah,
So I do my prayer. It's not that, but if somebody asks me, I think I would have a different answer.
yes,
So it's very strange, and you're right about this too. Like, I hope my it never. I mean, it's going to happen someday probably. But I'm saying that when my parents, for anything that I do that they want, I do it their way.
Yeah.
Like exactly what you're talking about, your brother, and because that's their wish, and I mean, I owe them a lot. I feel, So I do it. I mean, that's it,
Yeah.
And I respect it, and I respect them. I respect everything. I mean, it's very strange. I mean, to talk to you about this
But
thing.
it's interesting though because my mom still says she's a Buddhist, but I don't see her doing anything. She doesn't go to temple anymore. I think she feels the same, but she feels the same in a sense that she doesn't feel the need to go to the temple. But
it's deep rooted within her.
it's deep rooted.
So you can't really, So.
I mean, look, everybody's entitled to believing in what they want to believe in.
Exactly.
And it's something that should be respectful towards
Absolutely.
every individual.
That I agree with.
But I think she also is living life just believing in herself now. So, maybe one day I'll turn to another religion. Who knows? But as of right now, I am very happy the way
I
it
have
is.
serious doubts. I think it's easier to turn from one religion to another, but it's a little difficult to turn from atheism to another religion.
Yeah.
To believing in some form, or I don't know, but I have started talking about this more. Like, it's not that I don't believe in a creator, for example. But I believe it a little differently. I mean, I believe that for me, the reason why because we have still not proved how to make a living cell out of complete inanimate things,
Correct.
So I like the Big Bang, for example. I mean, it's a theory, of course, but what I find, and we have not proved it yet, but I'm saying that the Big Bang itself, there's so much heat created during the Big Bang.
Yeah.
What living cell lasts with that kind of heat?
Yeah.
So it's we still don't know how life was actually formed. We have understood evolution, that of course that soon, maybe in 200 years, we won't have nipples.
Yeah.
Men won't have nipples because they're of no use to maybe 500 years or 10,000 years. Who knows? So evolution is that. But how did it actually happen? And so many species and birds and animals. So what I find, what I believe when I say that there is a creator, for all you know, it may be an alien and you may be a part of his science project.
Could be.
Yeah, so that is a possibility. The reason why I say this is because what fascinates me about this world and everything, and from a creator point of view, is the level of design that is there in everything. So I look at it from that perspective, not in the perspective
Yes.
of God and stuff, but the design is phenomenal. I mean, I find it difficult to believe, like the human body itself, if you look at the design, you definitely needed a pen and a pencil and a paper to draw it. And you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes,
So it's not really
completely.
belief in God in the traditional sense of what God is, but somehow unless they give me an answer which is scientific, I believe that there is something as a creator, and which could be anything,
Yeah.
So
I think honestly, I think it's too deep for me.
okay,
I have enough problems in life
right,
to be thinking about these things.
okay,
We are where we are, and this is the card that we've been dealt.
yeah.
So just take it and live it.
Yes, but I mean, but one still tends to think. Yeah, it's like,
Look, I have to find joy in what I do
right,
to be enjoying.
yeah. That's true. That's true. If you're not thinking about it, Yong, I think you're very lucky. Because
I'm not thinking about it.
I'm a little conflicted about it, and I think about it.
Look, ever since my brother,
Yeah.
I wake up thanking that I can breathe in the morning. I'm still breathing.
Right. That's. I mean,
Life
that's
is
amazing.
Life is good.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, because that actually was why I asked you that question. Is that, did the passing away of your brother, did it affect you from a point of view of your belief in the
Completely.
system?
Him passing away, him getting injured, changed my life completely. And then him
So if you look at it, Yong, atheism has been a function of your own personal experience. It's not something that you had thought through and you arrived at it. You arrived at it because
No, it was a on-off switch.
on-off switch. Wow, that's a
Yeah.
it's an on-off
So
switch.
it was that simple. It wasn't like I had to sit down and think for 20 days before I had become an atheist. An atheist, I'm sorry.
Right.
So it was literally a flick of a switch.
So from the next day itself, you stopped doing any chants.
Completely gone. Completely out the door.
So, if you have to look at it like this, you blamed God in that sense for what?
No, I'm not
No.
blaming anybody. I'm
You're
not
just saying you don't exist.
I'm not blaming. I'm just saying I kind of wasted time on that. Like, let's say even today, yeah? You know, because I do memorial services for my brother at the temple. So the monks at the temple, I mean, they're not living a lavish lifestyle, or they have money to maintain everything they want to maintain.
Right.
So at times they ask me for help. You know, like let's say if a fence is broken, and trying to get that money from all the followers to pay into it is not an easy thing to do. Or let's say they have a legal issue, or whatever, like real problem that's non-spiritual. They will sometimes they call
Real
me,
world.
yeah,
not,
like
not something that God can solve.
yeah. So I remember the previous monk to the temple has now retired because of his age and his health, and he's trying to sell his temple, and he just didn't know how to do the whole paperwork process. Not that I know, but at least I had the means to have ask the attorney. And so these are the real problems that they ask me. You know, how should they go about doing it? Should they sell it? Should they just give it up and give it to someone? Or I think that's good enough for me. Like, I don't have to indulge myself into like chanting and believing in something. If they need help, I treat them like another human being.
But I think that, say, even the Christians or the Muslims or the Hindus came to you with a similar problem, you would help, right?
I do the same thing, but
Yeah,
they don't
so
come to me as a problem.
Yeah, they don't come to you because they don't expect you to pay for the fence because you're not following their religion. They look at you and say, nah, he's not a Hindu or a Muslim for sure. You know, but no, I'm saying that that's a more humane thing to do rather than it has nothing to do with religion at all.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, it's especially the temple that we do the memorial service at. They have a real lack of followers, and they oftentimes they don't know where to turn to for real, like
Real world help.
real world help. Yeah. So if I can, I will.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's to the memory of your brother and your father that you still do what has to be done. That's beautiful.
Yep.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. I drop a new episode every Friday night at around 10 pm. I will also end this and every episode by recommending a film or a web series. But before that, here is a small message on how you can help to keep this podcast alive and growing. This episode is free and we intend to keep it that way. But it does take a lot of time, money and effort to produce the show. We research, write, record and edit before we finally present it to you. So if you wish to support our effort, you can help us produce the show by contributing any amount you wish on our website, conversationswithatul.com. Please note that the word conversations is plural with an S. So do visit conversationswithatul.com. Since we're talking about South Korea, let me recommend a super South Korean film for you. The film I recommend today is called Decision to Leave and written by Park Chan-wook and Chung Seung-kyung and directed by Park Chan-wook. Decision to Leave is an investigative thriller about a dead man in the mountains. So, was it a simple case of suicide or was the man pushed? Decision to Leave rates a super 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Do watch if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter by following my Twitter handle Atul Taishete, spelled as ATULTAISHETE. Also, do visit my website Conversations, that is Conversations plural with an S. The complete website address is conversationswithatul.com. In the final part of this 3-episode series with South Korean business icon Yong Lee, we conversed about his foray into the recreational vehicle business, his one and only business failure in restaurants, and the story of how he once made $1 million in a single day. So please welcome business icon Yong Lee, a man who has spent most of the last 2 decades trying to fulfill the dreams his mother had for his late elder brother, and a man who strongly believes in the old Korean saying that he has people luck. Hi, I'm Atul Taishete and welcome to my podcast, Conversations with Atul. But before we begin, please do check out my not to miss film recommendation that I make at the end of every episode. Also, here is a small message on a book I have written, which is easily available on Amazon worldwide and which can help you to write screenplays, novels, and much more. Have you ever watched a film or a series or read a novel and felt, I can write better than this? Except you didn't really know how to. But now you can try your hand at writing screenplays, web series, or novels with a little help from my book called Anybody Can Write a Film. Devoid of film jargon and loaded with examples from popular films, my book simplifies the process to write films, series, or even a novel. Available on Amazon worldwide under the title Anybody Can Write a Film, Demystifying the Screenwriting Process by Atul Taishete. Visit Amazon.in to buy the book in India and Amazon in your respective countries to buy the Kindle version. Anybody can write a film. Now with my book, anybody actually can. So from here, Yong, I think we should get into your business and what is the total turnover of all your companies so that people have a context of who we are talking with.
Turnover as in
Sales or whatever.
Employee turnover or
Employee, what is it that you want to reveal? Or it's
Well, I'll tell you, I've made several accomplishments, but in here, before I get into the revenue turnover, I just want to say that having my brother pass away, I already started the business prior to him passing away. That was 1999. I must have prepared stuff starting 98. Because I still remember just going to the library, opening up books on how to start a business. And as I told you, he was my first client. For 4 years, I had a really tough time because trying to juggle work with taking care of my brother was not an easy task. Because, like even now, having children, having 3 kids, it's easier than taking care of my brother.
Absolutely,
juggle.
Yeah.
So, I had this thing in my head where, God damn it, you are the reason why I cannot succeed in the business. And I blamed him a lot in my head because I'm always taking care of you, and in the middle of the day when 9/11 happened, it's like business goes on or I have to go home and rush home and see my brother. Like, it's just everything was surrounded on taking care of my brother. But when he left, I think the best expression I can say on this is, it was like a bow and arrow. Just let go of an arrow. Now I'm free to do whatever I want. And I remember telling myself several times, Young, if you don't succeed, you're a real piece of shit. Because you have nothing to blame now.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And this is how tough it was. Like, I would go on a business trip. I would come back in JFK. I come home, and I see an ambulance, and I'm like, I hope to God it's not my brother. And what do you know? It's him. So I can't leave. I can't do anything. It's really hard to do anything because there's that chance that something might happen. But now he's gone, and I was like, Young, you got to make it. You have no more excuse. You have to make it in life. And ever since then, one thing led to another. Thank God business did very well.
Did you have any support from relatives and friends and
Zero.
zero?
But I did meet a lot of good people.
Just strangers.
Good and bad people. But I think I was very blessed in finding a lot of the right people to work with.
But a lot of them were strangers, right? I mean,
They're all strangers.
all strangers.
All strangers.
You know what actually amazes me in life generally, which I've realized in much later, is the kindness of strangers. I mean, in my own life, I have had amazing support from friends. I mean, but amazing support. I mean, I would have never done, and I'm shameless. That's another thing. But I'm saying that whatever I do today, or whatever I tried, because I quit a bank and whatever
Yeah.
big job, and I've always never had money, too much money since. But I always felt happy, and I always had friends who have felt that, oh, if you are trying it, let us help you anyway. It's a very strange thing. And then there have been so many strangers along the way who have been kind without knowing me, whether I'm a nice guy, whether I'm an asshole, or whether I'm just, a bit of both. They didn't care. Because sometimes people just want to help you because you're passionate, or because they see something in you which reminds them of something else, or I don't know how it works.
Well, Atul, here's the thing. Like, I have nothing that half of these people could possibly get from me, except for working hard and not BSing people. Finding an honest businessman is very hard to come by, and it's worth a lot when you find someone like that. So in here, look, when I was young, I don't think anything could have stopped me. Nothing could have possibly stopped me. I've slowed down quite a bit now at this age, but I was with people, and I really enjoyed it. And knowing what I know right now, and then looking back at what I did before, I probably would not have changed anything. It's everybody I've met has been, I would say about 70% of them were pretty good. I have been very lucky, and because in here there's nobody who makes money on their own.
Right.
Everybody needs everybody to make money.
Right.
You can never make money on your own. But I was there's a Korean saying, you have people luck.
You have people luck.
You have people luck.
Can you say it in Korean?
인복. 너는 인복이 있다.
You have people luck.
You have people luck.
Wow.
And
wow.
I think I have people luck.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I have people luck too. One of them is just sleeping around here, but I think I have people luck too. And So that's amazing. You know. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, your people luck.
Yeah,
That's really, I'm just blown by this.
yeah, I still remember when I first started. Like a friend of mine. So back then, I'm in the business of home care, like I said before, and I don't get paid for 90 to 120 days. So that means I have to carry the payroll for 90 to 120 days. And if the business is continuing to grow, I can never, ever make payroll. Because my revenue grows, then I have to wait another 90, 120 days for that money to come in.
So you're always short of working capital.
I was always short. And, you know, at that time, I've even had like a bunch of employees that had their paycheck bounced. You know what that means?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I had a lot of angry employees come and say, "Hey, where's my money?" But I always told them, "Hey, you know, deposit one more time." But I had this friend where the father said, "Young, I'll let you borrow $30,000.
A friend's father.
Yeah, but you got to pay me back by this date." And then the first time, I paid him back by that date. And then he trusted me. And I did that like 4 or 5 more times where he let me borrow the money.
On interest or without?
No interest. No, because we're talking about like 1 month.
No, whatever. I mean, but
Yeah, no interest.
If you had said interest, you would still have to pay. I mean, so you
Yeah.
would still have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether interest is not, that's not.
No, that, I'm saying that I'm talking about kindness here. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about, I mean, so it's for him, it's opportunity cost of that money, right? I mean, so he could have always put it in a bank and got some
Yeah.
interest out of it. So I'm saying, I'm looking at it from that point of view, and he just said, okay, Yong.
He didn't have to do that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying about people luck.
Yeah.
You know, I actually spoke to him about 3 weeks. Am I allowed to say names here?
Yes, you should.
Okay.
You should.
His name's Jeffrey Holmes, and he's in his 80s now, and he helped me.
And what's your friend's name?
Matthew Holmes. He lives in Denver, Colorado.
And they are friends from college? Or?
No, actually, he's my brother's friend from college.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like I was at a dead end. I had like no shame asking for money.
Right.
You know, either I asked for money
Or he shut down.
or I shut down.
Right.
So little things. This is not a little thing. Things like this really made me believe that there's a reason why my business has to go on, and then doing this at the time, I ended up starting a Korean home care where I wanted to see if there was a market in the Korean community, and I didn't realize how dense the Korean population was, and I started training Korean caregivers and getting them certified, and that's where the real growth was. In the beginning, is taking care of Korean patients. I think I was the first Korean company in New York.
Ah, so you use ethnicity to get that business.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. From what I know, there's about 300,000 Koreans in New York, and then I think I was one of the first in the Chinese market too. Yeah. So that's where the growth really came in between like 2010 and it was after getting married where the rapid growth started happening with the company. But to go back to your question, we are probably doing about $200 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
From nothing about 25 years back.
Yeah. Yeah.
From zero.
Yeah.
From 99, right? You started in 99.
Yes.
That's like 23 years. In
Yes.
23 years, 24 years.
Yes.
The $200 million, a South Korean who was born in Hong Kong
Yes.
and who came with almost nothing in his pocket is a $200 million turnover company
Yes.
in the US. I think that's phenomenal, Yong. I mean,
Yes.
that's absolutely, I think that's phenomenal, you know. The other thing where I want to say something about, how bad things happen to all of us, like your brother, your father, and all that. And we tend to regret it because this is what happened, and would I change it, would I not change it? I mean, it's human behavior, you know. But I'm saying that what I have realized more recently too, with probably through all these chats that I keep on having, and then
Yeah.
it racks my brain a little. And I think how life works is that, do you regret your life right now? Or do you regret, like for example, in your case, I'll say, no, I have something to say. Like, do you regret, do you love your children? Would you want to change anything about that part of your life? You know, for example, I'm just saying. So it's an example, okay? So if you don't want to change anything about that, then everything that happened in the past has to happen. You know, whether it's good, it's bad, whatever has to happen. That process has to, you have to go through that whole process
I
to
think
reach
it happened for a reason.
Right.
And it has happened for the right reason. I mean, look, it's horrible anything happened to them and us as survivors. But if I can make a good out of bad, I think I made the best out of the situation.
Right.
And you know, another big thing is, I mean, I think I mentioned this earlier, is, you know, my mom is a very important part of my life. And for me to be able to have her tell people, this is my son.
That's a proud moment.
That's a proud moment. I mean, I can tell she says crap about me all the time, but I know she's so proud
Right.
just to say my name.
Right.
I know 100% she's very proud when she says my name. So I have to fill the dream of my brother that was never fulfilled for her.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's very important to me.
So what I wanted to say was that whatever it is, you know, whatever good, bad, whatever happens to us in life, and people always, people crib about things which happened bad with them. Like you haven't, but I'm saying a lot of people do. So the question to ask for such people, or for anybody who's cribbing about it, is that, are there things in your life which you don't want to change? You know, so if you don't want to change them, then all those things which you are cribbing about also had to happen for you to reach that spot where are the things which you don't want to change. So if you change those, obviously these are going to change too.
Yep.
You know, so that's
Yep.
that's what I was trying to say actually.
Yeah.
So tell me, this is the business, because I don't think people understand this business, at least my Indian audience wouldn't, is that where the government in the US gives money to, if you're very old or if you cannot handle yourself, then they give, the government sponsors the care for these people.
Sure. So So most of the clients that we have are what you call Medicaid recipients. And Medicaid recipients are usually elders with almost no money. So most 99% of our audience are Medicaid recipients, and that's who we get paid from, is the state government. And in here, our Koreans and Chinese, and we also have a population of Latinos and African American. They're all Medicaid recipients that we care for, and they are the population that I've served since day one. And not only in New York, we have also now spread our services out to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, North Carolina, Ohio,
Wow.
Missouri, and Georgia.
Amazing. I mean, that's a long count.
Well, it is it is quite a struggle to start all those areas. We don't typically buy companies. We started from ground up.
From ground up.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that? Why don't you? What's your logic?
Well, I think first of all, we're very risk adverse, so we will not. We don't like to leverage. We don't like to borrow money from banks.
So you're not leveraged. I mean, you're very low leveraged.
We're very, very low leveraged.
What would be your like debt equity ratio like, or debt to sales? I mean,
we're like, we have almost no debt. It's
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So all the working capital is being funded by yourself.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the little debt that we have is from we took a U-turn in our business and went into a recreational vehicle manufacturing.
RVs.
Yeah, RVs.
Extreme outdoors.
Extreme outdoors, that's correct.
I made an ad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I made an ad for you.
You made an ad for which one?
Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah, I think you forgot, but there is an
Well,
ad.
again, look, I got to tell you, I missed a big part of what before the extreme outdoors is.
Yes, please. Yeah, well, let's not just jump here.
No, so all of these expansion into other states and extreme outdoors, I have a partner. It was a partner that was hiding somewhere for many years that I found. So think about 18, 19 years ago, I started recruiting nurses from South Korea. And in South Korea, the Korean government gave me an exclusive contract to bring all Korean nurses who want to work in the U.S. through me. And
Wow.
And
How did you manage that? I mean, to get an exclusive contract?
so I ended up meeting this nurse who was she was the head, what you call it, headmaster of the nursing school, the president of the nursing school, the National University of Nursing in Seoul, Korea, and National Medical Center, and she was very influential. And I asked her, "Ma'am, if you help me, I will make sure all of your Korean nurses will be taken care of in United States." And she spoke to the government and said, "Give this guy the contract."
As simple as that.
As simple as that. I mean, I literally begged
Amazing.
her. Yeah. And so I did that, and I don't want to go off too tangent.
No, you should. I mean, there's no problem. You can go off tangent, please.
And
I'll get you back.
so we recruited a bunch of nurses. To give you a sense of what I recruited, I've given 1,500 green cards to nurses
1,500.
to come into the U.S. And in the meanwhile, these nurses, they're going. We also did an education program for the nurses where they would learn. They would get a baccalaureate degree in the U.S. So they are New York RN, but they are also getting a bachelor's degree in the United States. So we started this program. It was a separate business. And meanwhile, I was doing that business. That's where I met my partner. His name is Vikram, and our program was at first offline, and then the president retired from the school. There was a regime change, and then we ended up switching to an online school, and that's where I met Vikram, and he ever since he has become a partner with me, and he has completely changed the way I have done business. Like
Vikram is a common friend. I mean,
yeah, but there's only one of this Vikram though. There's not too many of this Vikram.
Okay.
So he has taken my business to a complete different level, where there is no way I could have done that. There is no way I could have done that. And ever since we've been partners, and just to come back to the point where we were talking earlier, he's the one who has been forcing all these expansions into different states, into the RV business. Very smart guy.
Okay. I know this Vikram.
Yeah. He's a little bit smarter than me. Yeah.
Just little.
Just a little bit.
Not too much. Yong, do you remember yesterday you told me this crazy story where you said you made $1 million in a day?
Oh, God.
In one day, you made $1 million. That was like...
So that was when we got that government contract.
This government contract?
Yes.
I thought you said it's for a hotel or something.
No. That's something else. It was for this government contract.
Okay.
And they were giving out $4,000 per nurse
Oh my God.
to recruit to the United States. And I was thinking at first it was like maybe 20, 30 nurses that they were giving us hundreds of nurses. And when they were giving us hundreds of nurses, we just sat in front of the computer and saw deposits coming in. And I was like, whoa.
And you had no idea that this is the kind of money that is going to come in.
Yeah. But I also had no idea the kind of trouble I had to deal with.
Come on, it's never going to be easy if you're going to give this kind of money.
It was, back then, it was like a severe amount of work that, like, nurses came in, I became their sky cap. You know what a sky cap is? You carry their luggage when they come out of the airport.
Oh,
and
really?
then I scrub their toilets to make sure they're clean when they come in. I did everything. to the point where they got the job, I literally did everything for hundreds of nurses. I had to carry these luggages up like 5 stairs.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
crazy amount of work. Today, it's like luxury for me. I don't have to do anything for these nurses. But back then, it was a crazy amount of work.
Wow. And how many nurses did you send? If you remember the figure.
Yeah, we have done. We have sponsored 1,500 green cards.
1,500
Yeah,
into 4,000.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah. And the hotel is something else where I staffed the hotel with a bunch of. That was actually a real tricky business, but we staffed a brand new hotel, W Hotel, as part of the Sheraton group. And that was a short-lived business, but it was a interesting business. But yeah, that was the $1 million.
In one day.
24 hours may be an exaggeration, maybe 1.5 days. Yeah.
That's really humble of you. I have to say that.
Yeah.
That you made $1 million in like 36 hours instead of 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
but
very
if I
humble
knew how
man,
much
Yong.
work I had to put in,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, that obviously you have to. I mean, people don't make $1 million their whole life at times, and
yeah,
don't save $1 million.
Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to do. But
So-
it's an amazing story. I mean, by itself,
that was very interesting. Yeah,
it's an amazing story. So you have gone wherever the money is afterwards. I mean, when you started this business, it's very clear that it was deep rooted in a certain kind of commitment towards the elderly and all that. But
Yes.
then after that, you started understanding the nature of business and you started moving around in the direction of the money. Would that be the right way to put it? Like your staffing business, for example. And
yes, yes. So it kind of from home care it veered off into a direction of staffing. So the staffing was actually not a brand new idea, but it was still pretty fresh in many minds of hospitals and nursing homes in New York, where they are bringing in foreign nurses. I can clearly say we were one of the definite pioneers, where even today, when the Korean Nursing Association has a party, they're all nurses that I brought in.
okay.
Korean American Nursing Association, when they have a party, they're all nurses we brought in. So we put a dent in the nursing history.
Wow.
Yeah. And then from there, I think my next big push in business was investing into an insurance company, a health insurance company. So prior to the health insurance, all of the Medicaid recipient patients, we would get paid something called a fee for service. So the state would pay us for every hour of service that they get at home. But then they started coming out with these managed care organizations. So the state would pay the managed care a certain fee per person per month.
To take care of the elderly or...
Yeah, and the managed care company, which is the insurance company, they have to manage the amount of care that they need, whether they need podiatry, whether they need adult daycare, they have to manage. So that was the next business that I became part of. I was a small part of that business, but I was the only partner that was really involved as a founder. And we just sold the business, but we took the business from zero to almost $1 billion
Wow.
in 9 or 10 years. Yeah. And we just sold it to a national company. So that was definitely a big accomplishment. One of the biggest accomplishments I've done.
You sold that more recently?
Yes, we just sold it October of last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you want to disclose the valuation or you don't want to?
No, I can disclose it. We sold the company at $250 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So the timing was right. The market was ripe. Everybody wanted to get into the business. It was just everything just happened at the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the first time I've ever sold a business. So that was also a very interesting experience for me. Yeah.
And what other businesses have you done? I mean, other than now, these. Okay, we'll come to like this RV business.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you get into that? I mean, because it's completely off your core competency, right? I mean, it's not. You've never done something like this.
Yeah, I think the RV business was.
RV is a trailer. I mean, I'm just explaining to my audience. It's like you can, if you want to go camping, then you have something called like a RV trailer, so you can just hook it behind your car.
That's correct.
And take it and you go into jungle or a camp or a mountain and you can camp
That's
there
correct.
in that.
That's correct.
That's a RV. So recreational vehicle, right?
That's correct.
So why did you get into this business? Because from what I understand, it's largely medical and nursing, and this is the area that you're staffing.
So I wanted to put nurses into the RV and then send them to the patient's house. That's a joke.
Yeah. No, you never know when you're joking, but
But so like I said, Vikram and I had a friend who we did some nursing education work with, and he was the prior owner of the RV business, and they ran into some financial trouble, and that was our opportunity to get in. And this was right prior to COVID, so not knowing that COVID was going to hit, when we took over, it was a complete misery. And then COVID hit. What do you know? Everybody wanted to go camping. And then the place just went skyrocket. It's good and bad though, because when you grow that quickly, you can't get the infrastructure down correctly, but in here we're right now trying to adjust to the normal times of where RV should be, and I'm actually not the big involvement in the RV. Vikram is the bigger involvement, and he does most of the daily management of the business. And honestly, I probably would have killed myself if I had to manage the RV business. But it's completely a different sector from what we do.
yes, that's what, because this is manufacturing too. It's not really.
Yeah.
It's a completely different business.
Yeah.
It takes.
If you want to do manufacturing, you have to kind of be a conductor of an orchestra. You have to know when to bring who in, the timing has to be correct.
Yeah. I think manufacturing, I mean, I've never done manufacturing, but I'm saying I believe that manufacturing would be a very process-oriented business.
Yes.
So I think every little process has to be just in place, otherwise things can go. I mean, like if you lose, say, one RV due to defective manufacturing, then I think it's not only about losing the raw material, and it's also about losing a lot of time.
Yep.
in getting it done. I think
Yep.
that's
So it's still work in progress. We're trying to figure out a lot of things, but in here, I think my partner has a good handle on it. Yeah.
because I remember talking to Vikram, I think sometime during COVID or whatever, and he said that if you need a RV now, I can't deliver it to you for at least 6 months or 1 year.
Yeah.
I think that was the number of bookings that you had.
Yeah.
Suddenly, and it. Had
If you want one now, you can get it in 5 minutes.
I'll first need to buy a car where I can hook your RV. Otherwise, I'll just stay in the RV and hook it to an auto rickshaw and wherever I'm going. That's what I'll need to do. So, but yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I think how it has. So you are also a courageous man who's getting into an area which you've never been in, right? At this age.
I not sure if courageous or I think I get bored,
Of what you're doing.
and lately I've been trying to get into the hospitality business. And
No, but are there any other businesses that we need to talk before the hospital? Hospitality business is something that we need to talk in a little more detail.
there are other businesses, but I think it all encompasses into home care.
Okay.
It's not like it's hard to detail all of,
Right.
but all of what we do has become like it's like become so long that what excites me now is something that my mother has done a long time ago, a restaurant business. That is, I already invested in one and failed in one. But it hasn't stopped me, and I'm still trying to venture into trying to start a restaurant business, but we'll see.
I have been in the restaurant business. I think I told you yesterday.
Yep.
I think it's one of the toughest businesses in the world. I think it's because I think in the kind of world that we are coming into, where everything is going online, that's why you see a lot of people opening restaurants. And I think 90% of all restaurants, and that would be a conservative figure, fail all the time.
Yeah. So for me, I'm not looking to open that one restaurant.
You're opening a chain.
I'm trying to look for the restaurant that will require the least amount of workers and a replicable business. So any single person who comes and says, I want a franchise, it doesn't require too much. Investment should be very low. So that's what I'm trying to figure out.
There's one more thing if you can take my advice or not, because this whole franchisee thing, I think I've already done before. I mean, I didn't give out any franchises, but I tried to replicate, tried to market this product called Missile, which is a food product in Maharashtra, and I tried to make it into like a McDonald's. And there were reasons why I didn't do anything and whatever. I mean, because I was a filmmaker, basically a filmmaker, and all that. But one advice which I think is that as far as possible, give franchisees to people who own a place.
I see.
That's a big thing. I think nobody gets this. Nobody's thought of this. But what happens is that if you have a business, if you have someone, because there are a lot of people who want to be businessmen without really understanding what business is about, particularly with franchisees. So they come to you and then they end up taking something on rent. And that rent contributes to the overhead of running that place.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work out because most of these people don't have deep pockets. So if your product, even if your product is very good, I think in 6 months they'll run out of money. But if you own the place, then you will generally not be in a loss, if not in a profit.
That's correct.
And your working capital requirements will be far lower than they would be otherwise. I don't know. I shouldn't
No.
I shouldn't be the one giving you advice.
No, you're.
But I think this is something which I've done, and I think why I told you this is because I've realized nobody has figured this out. That if you give out, if you want to give out a franchisee, give out to someone who actually owns a place instead of someone who's going to rent out a place, and you will have a far higher chance of success than just giving out. Of course, you need a great product.
So I'm hoping that if I could do a restaurant franchise, it would be I own the place and they rent the place from me.
Yes, but
So the eventually the franchise business is really a real estate business. If you're able to purchase it in.
That's what the McDonald's guys used to say,
Yeah.
that it's a real estate business.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure of that, honestly. I am not really sure. I think it's a product business. It's about, it's about...
Well, you have to have a product first.
Yes, I mean, it's not a real estate business. I mean, I've seen this I think it's in The Founder, the film, The Founder, I think. If I'm not mistaken, it's about McDonald's guy, his story, who bought McDonald's from those two guys.
Most of them are like that now. Most of the big franchises it's a complete real estate play. No.
Yeah, and I think it's also difficult to maintain quality of a product if you have so many people, so many places, and that's also
true.
a fact.
That's true.
Also a fact.
Yeah,
So now you're going to tell me your failed businesses. Okay, I mean, it's not, or have you been successful in everything you've done, or there have been businesses where you tried, like the hospitality business and this whole story about the hospitality business. And let's talk about your failure as an entrepreneur, because you just don't reach this place where you sell a company for $250 million.
Well, I just told you I failed in one restaurant.
Yes. So what was the story behind it? How was it? How did it? You may not take names if you don't want to.
No. There was a restaurant. It's actually a Korean restaurant in New Jersey.
Okay.
And they were actually former owners of a very famous restaurant in Manhattan. And it was not really, the investment was very small, but I think the business philosophy was just different between us. It was, they couldn't get out of the mindset of a mom and pop kind of a
store.
Yeah. And we just did not jive. It was the way the business was done did not click between the two of us. Yeah.
So both of you understood the business differently. That's what.
Yeah, I took my losses. I think they're still running it, but I just practically just walked away from it. Yeah. But failure, I don't think we've really had.
Wow. Because I had this conversation with another businessman who was my friend's father, and he established one of the biggest resorts business in the country.
Wow.
And they sold it to somebody else, which was a bigger brand, a resort brand. And he talked about his failures, and he kept on telling me about, okay, I tried this, and I tried this, and I tried this, and then eventually and what I'm finding is amazing about success in business is how, and I've done another episode with somebody who is like a influencer and a motivational speaker, and who owns 5 schools, and he used to live in a house as a child with tin walls. There were no brick walls or tin walls in like this much room, just tin walls. And if it gets very hot in Bombay, and from there he established 5 schools, and he's now establishing a university in
Wow.
Bombay. So that kind of a thing. So for me, it's and all of them. It's amazing that you're talking about it and saying that you generally chose right, not always maybe, but generally chose right.
Generally, yes.
That's an amazing achievement. I mean, you just didn't get into anything blindfolded. I think that's.
Yes. A lot of what we do are related. Yeah.
And even in his case, it was his personality which got him into that business, like how he developed it. He talks about it in the podcast. His name is Sanny Pinto, and that episode is, I think, episode 24. So it's in that. And this Mr. Hari Divekar, who runs this resort business, he's also talked about it in, I think, episode 28 or somewhere around that.
Sure.
Onwards. So, and it's a little amazing. I mean, how what the story which you are telling me is very similar to the story he's told me, and it's not the same story,
Yep.
but it's very similar in the sense that how he got into this business is because he was into snakes. He used to go into the forest and he was interested in nature, and then he said, okay, I like this, so let me make my hobby my business. And my
Wow.
business my hobby. So because he used to actually catch snakes and hold snake exhibitions in Bombay. So he used to go get them from like in trains around from like 2,000 kilometers away in trains, in local in trains, and then hold snake exhibitions in Bombay. He's done that. Like, so he's that kind of a man. He's 80
Wow.
now, and that's how he made this business of resorts, and one of the biggest resorts business called Nature Trails in India. And this other guy, Stanley Pinto, he also was like that, and that's exactly how your journey has been,
Wow.
which is with your brother. And because
Yep.
I mean, this extremely unfortunate event happened with your brother, and that led you to where you are today. Because,
Sure.
because you learned from that, and you said, okay, now this is something which I am suffering. I mean, my brother and me and my family is suffering from, but this is also a business opportunity.
Sure.
And which is the same. I mean, it's amazing for me how, I mean, because you haven't heard the other two episodes, but how the dots are linking. I mean,
Everything links.
it's a little, because I think all entrepreneurs have this kind of a story, which comes from their own personal experience, and
Yeah.
then that becomes the experience for them and fodder for them to turn entrepreneur in that business, and because they understand it so well,
Yeah.
that is where they succeed. I mean, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. Tell me about your love for cooking, because I think the hospitality business, it's in India what we call in Hindi there's a word called keeda, which is called worm.
Mm-hmm.
So once that worm enters through your backside into you, it can't go away.
So,
So it's that.
all I watch on TV, most of what I watch on YouTube is cooking.
All that you watch is cooking.
I love I watch movies.
Yes, of course. But largely you watch is cooking.
Yes.
For how long? Since when?
Long time. I watch so much cooking that my sons love to watch cooking. And I think I really enjoy like trying to make different kinds of food. It's always been, look, I love sushi, and that's what I love making at home. And I think I don't know if my kids are forced to say it, but I tell them, do you like it? And it's the best sushi I ever had.
You told me the story that you take your children to restaurants, other restaurants. Yeah, just tell me that story again.
I take them to a lot of restaurants, actually.
Mm.
But I always ask them, is their cooking better or my cooking better? And but the best is I always ask them, is mom's cooking better or my cooking better? They always look around before they answer me.
So you are not really looking to open a hospitality business. You're also looking for a divorce. Because if you're going to
Not
ask your
yet.
children,
Not yet. Wait, when are you going to air this? So just make sure you tell me when you're
because
going
nobody is going to ask their children whether you like your mom's cooking or whether like.
No, but
mine.
I think my wife knows she's not a very good cook, though. So
But does she accept it?
she doesn't accept it.
Right. So I mean, then you're looking for one.
Yeah. So whenever she cooks,
No, we're joking. Okay, what's your wife's name?
Chloe.
Chloe, we are joking. Okay, we are joking. I just want to make it very, very clear. Yeah. So please, if Chloe is listening, that is.
Okay, I'm joking too.
He's joking too, yeah. Yes, he's joking, yeah. Okay, let's get it out of the way. Yong is joking, Chloe. Yeah, come on, now tell us. So your children, you ask them whether you like your mother's cooking more, and then they look around, and what do they say?
Actually, no. It's when she cooks, and then when the kids start eating, and then when all three of them stare at me, I know there's an issue with the food. And I'm like, okay, listen, just eat it. Just eat it. So we have these episodes in the house. Yeah.
You're trying to keep your marriage interesting. That's what I understand.
That's right. That's right. Trying to keep her on her toes.
So, but since when have you been cooking? Like when you in the restaurant?
No, it's a random. Like I will just do it once in a while. I like to cook. I like to invite chefs to my house to cook for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just enjoy that whole kitchen stuff.
Wow.
Yep. It's for me it's fun. I really enjoy, not the cleaning part.
But you're a rich man, Yong. You don't need to clean yourself. I mean, you can just mess up the house whenever. I mean, of course you can't. And again,
I
Chloe,
can't.
we are joking.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sorry,
we can't-
Chloe.
We
Chloe,
can't. We are not. No, of course you can't mess up the house. But I'm saying that you're a rich man and you can afford to get somebody to clean it up for you. Yeah, so that's.
I wish I can get someone to clean up.
It's not like India, where, I mean, the middle class also, there's a maid coming to the house and they do all your work for you.
Yeah.
It's not the same in the US. Now, tell me now, because we have introduced Chloe in our conversation.
Oh no.
What is your love story?
So my wife was a news anchor in Korea for a broadcasting station that my friend's father owned the broadcasting station. So I was having lunch with my friend and I asked him, "Hey, do you know anybody that you can introduce me that's a nice girl?" And he introduced her to me, and this was in Korea, and since then.
Did you have any other girlfriends, serious relationships before this? I mean, serious ones. I'm not talking generally. I mean, but
Is this a serious question?
it's a serious question if you want to take it. No, because it's you seem to be too focused on a certain aspect, which is first it was your brother.
No, like my wife. When I met her, it was. She is very good to her parents, like very good. And then I realized she's the one. If you're good to your parents, you got to be a good person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what made me want to marry her. It didn't take too long.
Wow.
6 months, and I said, "Let's get married."
Oh my God.
Yep.
So the only of course, there must have been other nice things about her, but
Oh yeah.
the principal thing was
I mean,
that
she's the most beautiful lady I've met.
though not a better cook than you, but
Yes, that I will not say anything more about.
no, but you're saying you're obviously very adoring of her. You really adore her.
Oh yeah, she's a
Even
great
in our
mother.
talks yesterday, you said it. I think enough times that
She's a great mother.
to your kids.
Yeah, she's.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 boys.
And what are their names?
My oldest is 13. He's Joshua. 11 is Logan, and 10 is Mervin.
Okay.
And they're all wonderful in their own ways. They're all talented in their own ways. My oldest is very good at cello. He plays cello in Lincoln Center and in Carnegie Hall. He's
Wow, these are places which I've really heard all the time.
yeah, he's a good cellist. And my middle one is really good at sports. He likes to play tennis a lot. This summer he's going to the Nadal tennis camp. My little one, I think he's finding his way, but he's really into robotics. He really likes robotics.
Wow.
So they all have their own liking, yeah.
And their mother who is constantly pushing them from.
Slightly, yes. Yes.
That's a good thing to
Creating perfection. Yes.
This was something I think which I think it's there in the earlier part of our conversation, but I think I told you about my friends who have this problem about how to, because now their children are not going to pass through the same struggles that they did, because obviously they are rich, or they're at least very well off. So it's not going to be the same, and you don't really want to say no to your child, a lot of times. And what that creates is that the kid gets it very easy, and it creates a certain kind of dissatisfaction in the parent, that my kid is not really very ambitious, or is not really trying to do his or her best. I mean, I've heard it from too many of my friends, particularly from people who've seen a very hard life earlier. Like a lot of my friends have seen a very hard life earlier, and now who are doing extremely well. And they find it difficult to adjust to this contradiction in their own lives, which is about that, because the children have it easier. Obviously, they're going to have it easier. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But they're not able to reconcile themselves to the fact that that my child is not as ambitious as me, or how do you? But your children, for that example, all the 3 kids.
I don't know whether right now they're good at what they do, but I don't know whether they're going to be ambitious when they grow up. But in here, I think, look, they get everything they want right now, no doubt about it. But in here, I think I have to get them to know exactly what they want to do as they grow up, and they have to realize at a certain point, none of this is for free.
But it is.
Not when they're at a certain age. It's not for free.
Mm.
So if I'm able to... Look, it's hard. I understand completely what your question is. It's a fully loaded question what you're giving me.
Right.
But in here, I think my wife is doing a great job in trying to let them know that my wife's famous line is, you know how hard your father works to give you what you want? So I think they have nightmares about what she says.
But that's a line which is that's a very common line everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's not really like your wife is the only one saying it. I've heard a lot of my friends, and my father is. And obviously, if I look at my own life, I mean, we lived in a small house, but my father used to sleep outside in the balcony of somebody else's house, as a 16-year-old. And then I lived in a proper house, even if it was a 200 square feet house. I had a proper house. It was my house, and my father never had it. So obviously, I had a better, far more privileged life than him.
Yeah.
So, so I've heard his stories and all that, but I don't think then when you're that age, you say, it's okay, so what?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you keep on repeating this story to the kid says, so what? I mean, it's not my fault that you slept or you did what you did. It's...
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. But I think as they grow older, they need to be able to choose what they want to do and realize that, not everything is for free.
I don't really know how this is going to happen. I mean, I'm not trying to, but I just don't understand, because I don't understand, and I understand the point of view of the child, and I understand the point of view of the parent, and I think both ways I don't really know. But your children, because I am really a little bit fascinated with your children, is because they are all like someone is playing at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center.
Yeah, but that's also something that my wife is producing.
So you give all the credit for this to your wife.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I'm sure you pamper your children a lot.
We'd be watching Netflix all day.
If it was up to you.
Up to me. We order pizza and watch Netflix all day. So
you're actually the fourth child in the family, if I understand. So your wife also has to manage you and your Netflix.
100%. I am the fourth child.
I'm sorry, Chloe, but I think you really have a hard job. I empathize with you completely. Yeah, and your child plays the cello. Is what you call cello.
Cello.
And
Yeah.
they call cellist. Cellist.
Cellist. Yeah.
Cellist. So the people who play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, all three of them play, but Joshua is good at it.
You were telling me this story about how I think South Korean and Chinese children learn the cello so that they can get into Harvard. Am I
Yeah.
right?
So
What's the story?
a lot of Asian students,
Asian is a very big. So Asian,
mostly Chinese and Korean.
Chinese and Korean, yeah.
They not only cello, but like piano, violin, viola. They stick to a certain instrument so that. But it's not only music though. They also with sports.
Right.
Obviously, they excel in academics. That is. So music is something that is a basic requirement to getting into an Ivy League school. Is what a lot of Asian mothers think, or Korean and Chinese mothers think. Yeah. So as a
But
result,
that's true too. That's also true.
yeah. So if you look at any like orchestra in New York, that's where you have to audition to get in. They're all mostly Chinese Korean children that are playing in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know this at all.
Yep.
Wow. It's like the spelling bee. It's generally Indians and Chinese, I think.
Yes.
So it's in the US.
It's similar
like
to that.
It's similar to that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So
Yeah.
the Indians and Chinese are really pushing the children.
Yeah. I mean, look, if it was all judged upon your SAT score and your grades, it'll be all Chinese kids and Korean kids and Indian kids in Harvard.
Wow. That's I'm not really sure how to, what my views are on this. But now there's something which I think I talked with your friend. And it seems a little earlier there was you would have a temper issue when you were handling things in office and all that. And over the last few years, you have really chilled out a lot more. Is that true? I mean, how do you see it?
Well, I think when I first started, like, my life depended on the business.
So you're always hyper about...
I was hyper. I might have overreacted to a lot of situations. But it's become where I don't need to be like that anymore. I can take a step back and really take a deep breath and see what is happening around me. I did not have that kind of luxury back then. I need to make it happen. It's got to succeed. So I was very overreactive to a lot of situations. But I think I've changed quite a bit over the years.
And you can, what do you attribute this to? Other than it's aging or...
I think a lot of it is, it comes with time. Just having children and having good people working with you, you know you're in good hands, and it's not a back then everything was either you do it and you make it, or you're out of the arena, you're gone.
Yeah. So now it also may be that you have seen this before, and if this happens, I know where this will go and how I'll handle it.
Exactly.
Whereas earlier you didn't know what
Exactly.
you were also a little hyper because it would lead to losses which would probably shut you down forever.
Exactly. Exactly.
Is that the right way to put it? I mean,
Yes. 100% yes.
wow. So it's been an amazing talking to you actually. I just want to know, I just have a couple of things and I have one last request. I'm not sure whether you're going to fulfill it, but I'm going to make it anyway. But before that, where from here? I mean, now that you have, I think monetarily you're comfortable, right? I mean, for like whatever your life is left. I mean, all of us, I think, are going to live up to a maximum of healthy 80, 85. So, it's another 30, 35 years. And I think that's enough for you as of now, from a simple monetary perspective. So what is it how do you look at your life? What is it that you see yourself doing? Are you going to get a little more ambitious about other businesses, or how do you see it? Or you want, what is your perspective on this? At almost 50, right? Or you are...
Yeah, I'm 40. I'm going to be 49 in a couple of days.
Oh, in a couple of days?
Couple of days.
When is that?
March 11.
March 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the growth of the business is always going to be there. The infrastructure is good. The company is standing on concrete pillars. It's a very, very good company. I mean, I think I'm the only one who doubt things, but if I could really take a step back and look at the company, it's a really good company. But moving forward, as long as it can give me a job until the day I die, I think I'll be happy with that.
But you're not really very ambitious anymore about doing something completely different or
Why?
starting
I told you I want to do a restaurant.
Yes.
Is that
But
not ambition?
that's what I told you about, that it's a worm, it's a kida. So
No, it's a worm for you. It might be ambition for me.
exactly. So no, you have to understand it from my context. It's like I make films.
Oh, okay.
So it's a kida, it's a worm. So it's in my backside and it will not go anywhere till I die.
I see.
Particularly if you're in the film business, it doesn't go anywhere with a lot of people. So it's a kida or a worm, which is there and it keeps on wriggling and you can't get it out. So
maybe-
So for you, in my whatever my opinion is worth, the restaurant business is a kida. It's a worm for you.
Yep. Maybe a couple of years later, you should interview me again, and I'll own something like McDonald's.
I'll be very happy if you own something like that. I hope to get free food around the US.
You're more than welcome. Yeah.
So it's been so wonderful to talk with you, and I have this one final request.
Sure.
Can you sing a South Korean song for us?
That is impossible
Can you try?
because your podcast will completely fail after I sing.
That's why I asked you at the end, so they don't have a choice. They only have 5 more minutes to listen to. So I'm already successful with it. I'm very smart. I know it that way. That's why I didn't ask you as soon as I thought. Oh, Yong, why don't you sing a song for me?
I really cannot sing.
So let's do something else.
My deep apologies.
Let's do something else, because I think it's important for, and I'm sure a lot of Indians listen to see a lot of South Korean content right now, because South Korean content is really popular in this country right now. So they have a sense of the language. But why don't I speak in English and you answer to me in South Korean?
Sure.
Okay, and since I'll ask very generic questions,
Sure.
And you can answer it like that, so that just and I'm not going to translate whatever you're saying.
Sure.
You're not going to translate it, just to get a feel of the language that we are doing this small
Go right
thing,
ahead.
some fine thing. So Yong, what is your name? I mean, so Yong, I'm sorry, that's such a stupid thing to say. But what is your name?
내 이름은 영이라고 합니다.
Which part of South Korea? Are you from where were you born actually?
나는 홍콩에서 태어났는데요.
But that is not your country of descent, right? You're not Hong Kongian by birth.
아니야, 난 한국 사람이에요.
You're from what? Hanok, that is South
한국, Korea.
Hangu,
Korea. Korea
And
is
what
한국.
is Korea in South Korean language? It's still called Korea?
한국.
Hangu.
한국.
So the world understands it in English as Korea,
That's correct.
but in Korean it is Hangu.
So there was a Korea dynasty a long time ago,
Ah, it's a dynasty.
and that dynasty created the name Korea.
But within Korean, in the Korean language, it's called Hangu.
한국.
Hangu. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody knows this. Everybody, because it's Korea, it was probably easier on the tongue.
Yep.
Oh God. And which year did you get married to Chloe?
나는 2008년도에 결혼했습니다.
That's 2008.
Yeah.
Wow. And
You understand Korean, huh?
because I have written here that you would. I understand. Yeah, no, sorry. I'll cut this out. Yeah, I understand Korean. Yeah. So, and what was how close were you to your brother? What memories do you have of your brother? Because I would love this, for your mother to hear this in Korean, you're saying this. And what are your thoughts? First, your brother, tell me about your brother in Korean.
나는 우리 형님을 정말로 사랑했고, 일찍 돌아가셔서 정말 마음이 아파요. 하지만 형님 때문에 내가 지금 여기까지 왔으니까 너무 좋습니다.
This I recorded specially for your mother, okay? And I want you to speak and tell me what you think about your mother and what you think about her, whatever that is.
내가 이 세상에서 제일 사랑하는
And what you wish
존재예요.
for her. One, what you think about your mother and what you wish for her in Korean.
우리 어머니가 영원히 건강하시고, 두 번째는 내가 제일 사랑하는 사람입니다.
And one final thing, two final things. What is the message for your children in Korean?
잘 커졌으면 좋겠습니다.
That's it.
That's it.
What did you say?
I said, I wish you guys grow up well.
Okay. And one final message for the woman whose leg we have pulled enough on this show,
Oh no.
Chloe, and tell us what you think of her and what is the message that you have for her.
고은아, 내가 이 세상에서 정말 너 만난 게 나한테는 행운이다. 감사해. 사랑해.
What did you say?
I said, I'm so lucky to have met you.
Okay. And I think you mean it.
I mean
because I have had a session with you, a general drinking session with you yesterday, and I think you spoke very proudly. And Chloe, because I don't know you and probably will never meet, but I'm telling you that he is extremely, he adores you and he really likes the way you bring up his children. And that's what he kept on talking about the whole night. And then no man speaks the truth when he's drunk. So I can tell you that is the truth. And so Yong, such a lovely conversation, warm and
Thank you very
deep,
much.
and such a lovely conversation, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And because I told you that this is a rambling podcast, you ramble in this podcast, and I don't decide the direction in which it goes, and my guest decides the direction, and I just try to drive it that way. And it was so lovely. And
Thank you. I really appreciate this moment.
And this thing with your brother, I think it honestly made me so emotional.
Thank
because
you.
I think you had, and I wish you all the best, and I wish you all the love, the laughter, the, a future for your children, a long, happy marriage, and I wish it to you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for your time, and thank you for this
Thank
lovely
you for
conversation.
inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. I drop a new episode every Friday night at around 10 p.m. I will also end this and every episode by recommending a film or a web series. But before that, here is a small message on how you can help to keep this podcast alive and growing. This episode is free and we intend to keep it that way. But it does take a lot of time, money and effort to produce the show. We research, write, record and edit before we finally present it to you. So if you wish to support our effort, you can help us produce the show by contributing any amount you wish on our website, conversationswithatul.com. Please note that the word conversations is plural with an S. So do visit conversationswithatul.com. Since we're talking about South Korea, let me recommend an action-packed South Korean film for you. The film I recommend today is called A Bittersweet Life and written by Dong Joel Kim and Ji Woon Kim and directed by Ji Woon Kim. Bittersweet Life is the story of a gangster who does not follow his boss's orders. That is when the bad stuff starts happening to him. Bittersweet Life rates a high 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Do watch if you haven't already.
Follow me on Twitter by following my Twitter handle Atul Taishete, spelled as ATULTAISHETE. Also, do visit my website Conversations, that is Conversations plural with an S. The complete website address is conversationswithatul.com. So see you next Friday at 10 p.m. with a different guest, a new episode and a fresh conversation right here on Conversations with Atul. Have a rocking fun week and stay safe. Thank you.